across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. These weekends blink and you miss them, don't you? Anyway, that one's gone. Here we go on another week. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you for 3 thrilling hours of breaking news, challenging views and topical debate. Get involved, get it off your chest and get on the show by calling me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. That's 0344 499 1000. It is Monday, June the 9th. No, it's not Monday, June the 9th. That'll be next Monday. It's Monday. Why did I say that even? It's Monday, June the 2nd. Here's what's coming up. After the most disastrous day of illegal channel crossings since 2022, Two-Tier sends out his flunkies to explain why the government's gormless smash the gangs strategy is so hopelessly failing to even begin to solve the migrant crisis. These things take time, these ludicrous Labour losers keep saying. 10 months, hundreds of millions of pounds spent on high-tech equipment, a record 1,195 sailing over from France on Saturday alone. Highest number in 5 months ever, the highest this year, the highest number in 5 months ever. The total tally, 42% up on last year, and not a single people smuggling gang found, let alone smashed. When our Keir, Calamity Cooper and this calamitous cabinet crew going to admit that their migrant crisis policies are simply not working. We can't go on like this, can we? Just watching this crisis get worse and worse and worse. We are suffering this ongoing invasion. All we get is the Starmer bot going, smash the gangs, smash the gangs, smash the gangs. Well, if you're going to smash the gangs, Keir, how about finding one and then smashing one? You haven't found a single gang. This is not working. What are we going to do about it, folks? 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, the sinister behind-the-scenes horse trading by Labour's string pullers, desperate to persuade disgraced former Health Minister Andrew Gwynn not to quit his Manchester seat. Even though they kicked him out of the party after his horrible WhatsApp posts about hoping an old lady would die by the next election, along with various sexist, ageist and various nasty posts. They kicked him out of the party, but they want him to stay. They were exposed by the media, but Labour's top brass are keen to get Gwynn to stay on as an independent MP to prevent another Runcorn-style by-election humiliation by the rising Reform UK party. One more safe Labour seat that just isn't safe anymore. 0344 499 1000. Plus, pressure builds on Starmer to sack his little human rights lawyer chum, Lord Richard Hermer, for his juvenile comparing of Reform and Tory right-wingers who want to leave the ECHR to the Nazis. He thinks anybody who's slightly right of centre must be Adolf Hitler because mentally he's never left the sixth form. He's also the useless Attorney General who personally signed off on prosecuting Lucy Connolly and who has a dubious track record of leniency towards sex offenders. Should he go? Should he be sacked? 0344 499 1000. Not forgetting the incoherent mess of Labour's defence spending pledges. Tough talk about defending the nation by committing 3% of gross domestic product spending to the military until dithering Defence Secretary John Healey goes on to the BBC yesterday and reveals, drumroll, the 3% is merely an ambition. In other words, it ain't gonna happen, is it? 0344 499 1000. Also, More sky-high expenses from big spending Mr Speaker Lindsay Long-Haul Hoyle as a Freedom of Information request lifts the lid on more than $5,000, the more than $5,000 he shelled out on private planes. 3 private planes during a glamorous taxpayer-funded jaunt to the sunny Caribbean. What can be done to just stop Hoyle? The 650 MPs, we won't get a peep out of them, because if they got on the wrong side of the Speaker, he doesn't call them to make their little speeches. So they're terrified of him. They'll never criticise him. He's spending a lot of our money. What can be done? The MPs won't do anything. They won't say a word. They're all too scared. So what can be done to just stop Hoyle? 03444991000. Also tonight I'll talk to migration expert Robert Bates about Britain's ballooning foreigners' benefits bill. £1 billion a month and rising. That is £1 billion a month to households with at least one foreigner in them. £1 billion and rising. 3 years ago, the bill was less than £500 million. It was 450,000, something like that. So it's going up and up and up. And I'll also ask whether or not our blasphemy laws are back, because a guy today was prosecuted, found guilty of burning the Quran. And this apparently was a new kind of offence. It was religiously aggravated public disorder. Now, he's been done because what he did, burning the Quran, was offensive to Islam. Now, presumably, he'd get the same if he burnt the Bible or the Jewish religious tracts as well. But, you know, he shouldn't be prosecuted for any of these offences. They shouldn't be offences. You know, I'm not advising that you go out and burn religious texts. Don't go out and burn the Quran or the Bible. It's offensive to people, but it should not be against the law. We brought back the blasphemy laws, the medieval blasphemy laws. You know, you're not allowed to burn religious books because that is a religious disorder offence, apparently. That's got to stop. That is wrong. We'll talk about that later. 03444991000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Monday night together. And for the first hour, special treat for you. Special treat for me, definitely. We've got the chair of the Great British PAC, former deputy leader of Reform UK, of course, Ben Habib. Welcome, Ben.
Good evening, Kevin. It's a treat for me. Thank you very much for having me on.
You're always welcome on this show, Ben. And the first item is right up, well, I think both of our streets, but certainly yours. This is now getting ridiculous, this cross-channel crisis that we've got. We saw, but by the way, there have been about, I must say, about like 7, 8, 9, 10 days of nothing. Nobody coming across the channel. It goes like this, and then suddenly you'll have this huge surge. But none of us were expecting the magnitude of the surge we suffered on Saturday. 1,195 foreigners breaking into this country illegally, making that journey from France in a single day. That is the highest number in a single day since 2022, the 4th highest number of all time, and it brings to a total for this year of the number of migrants crossing the channel illegally, 14,811. That is 42% up on last year. Now we're on track, according to experts, for at least another 35,000 by the end of this year, which would take the total for 2025 to a world record 50,000 or more, at least 50,000. Meanwhile, what do we have, Ben? We've got this idiot Starmer and his ludicrous henchmen and women sent out to do media rounds all day yesterday. I mean, look at this. We're watching it now. Look at it. The French police just watching these boats fill up and chug across the channel. French police doing nothing for their £500 million we gave Macron for him to have his beaches patrolled properly. They just watch. They just watch when these boats leave, and they come over, and Starmer's minions yesterday all over the telly doing the rounds, including John Healey, the Defence Secretary, saying when confronted with these appalling statistics, this 1,200 in a single day. Oh, well, these things take time. They have no solution. This smash the gang strategy has been proven to be a catastrophe. They haven't found a gang, they haven't smashed any gang, and meanwhile this, if people are watching, this is happening day in, day out. 19 boats came chugging across the channel on Saturday, all of whom are now, of course, getting used to the warmth embrace of Britain. We're going to pay them, you know, their 50 quid a week benefits, give them free doctors, free dentists, free accommodation, 4-star hotel, free lawyers, and so on and so forth. Starmer has got to get real, Ben. He can't just keep watching 1,200 people coming over and then saying, well, my smash the gang strategy will take time. No, your smash the gang strategy, Starmer, is never going to work, and it is incumbent upon the Prime Minister, is it not, Ben, to come up with something as a matter of urgency that will work.
There's only one thing that will work, Kevin, and that is to physically enforce our borders in the old-fashioned way. We need the Navy to do what it was charged to do, which is protect this country. You know, today we had Healey talking about how they were going to build 12 new nuclear submarines, how they were going to build state-of-the-art jets that were going to defend this country. Well, actually, if I were Russia and I wanted to attack the United Kingdom, I'd infiltrate the United Kingdom with thousands and thousands of people across the channel in advance of my attack, so I could activate them the minute that I wish to launch an attack. For all we know, I'm not suggesting this is the case, but for all we know, we could be infiltrated by hundreds of thousands of foreign actors in the United Kingdom right now. I'm not suggesting that's what's happened, but if you were Russia, and if the threat from Russia is as serious as Healey made out today, then that would be a perfectly sensible thing for the Russians to do in advance of a proper attack on the United Kingdom, because they'd have their operatives in the heart of the United Kingdom. There is only one solution to stopping illegal migration, and that is enforcing borders in the old-fashioned way, with military boats, otherwise known as the Navy, patrolling our territorial waters, the edge of our territorial waters, and telling these dinghies to go back to France. And if they're supported and protected by French naval vessels, challenging those French naval vessels and requiring them to tow these dinghies back to France where they came. And if that means an altercation in the channel, then we have to have an altercation in the channel. No amount of talking about smashing the gangs, international cooperation, paying the French, making completely vague, nebulous threats which we never follow through on, is going to change a damn thing. The only thing that will work is enforcing our borders. Enforce our borders. Borders are not theoretical. In constitutional terms, they define the country. They have a practical reality, and that practical reality can only be given effect to through practical enforcement, which requires force at our border.
I'm
sorry.
I tell you what it requires.
What I'm saying.
I tell you what it requires. I agree with you totally. We need action. We need to do something physical. But also what it requires beneath that, Ben, and this is important, is resolve on the part of this government. Governments around the world, Australia, America, who have actually decided, and the Scandinavian countries now, who've actually decided what we're going to do about our migrant crisis is we are going to damn well solve them. We're going to come up with measures that actually work, as opposed to performative headline hunting, which is all smash the gangs is.
Absolutely.
So what did you think with a view to that yesterday? And by the way, on Saturday, it was so out of control that the border force ship boats all out there in the middle of the channel trying to deal with this sort of armada of migrants coming over from Calais, from the northern beaches, had to call in fishing vessels that are out there to help them. They were overwhelmed, the border force. Then John Healey, the Defence Secretary, goes onto the telly yesterday with Laura Kunsberg on the BBC, and he actually says that the government or that we have lost control of our borders, and that these people smugglers were using these small boats like taxis. Well, yeah, John, that's the problem, and your job is to stop them. And do you know what he announced as the brilliant step forward that we could rely on from now on? That we apparently have managed to negotiate with the French police, the gendarmes on their beaches, that from now on they will agree, they haven't agreed to do this before, to actually paddle into the sea and stop the migrants getting on the boat. In the past, until now, their policy is as soon as the migrants get their tiny toes into the shallowest of sea on the beach, the gendarmes step back and say we can't have an altercation in the sea. Well, now they've agreed to actually paddle in there and maybe stop the migrants, but that is not good enough. And now we have a Secretary of State of this realm on television saying the government has lost control of our borders, which we already knew. But this government doesn't seem to understand the urgency of this. We know, everyone knows, smash the gangs, it's just headline hunting. It sounds good. Oh, smash the gangs, says our tough-talking Prime Minister. Fine if you smash a few, but you haven't. So you can't keep parroting that old clapped-out cliche. We need this government to realise that this is a serious crisis that they must address. And all they're doing, alarmingly, is trolling out the same old cliches. Well, smash the gangs, get the evil people smuggling gangs. It doesn't work. We need something else.
I mean, it's just rubbish. It's deflection. We have no ability to keep our own domestically created illegal activities under control. All violent crime is up. All petty crime is up in the United Kingdom. We can't smash gangs that are based in the UK, let alone gangs that are based in Europe. And that's the fundamental weakness with this notion that you can smash the gangs. They're not in the United Kingdom. It requires the French, Germans, Italians, and others to get together and smash the gangs. And they don't do it either because they've got the ridiculous Schengen zone where borders don't exist. So once you've landed in Italy, the Balkans or Greece, you can meander your way through to Calais, where you get an equally insipid French police force, and you're greeted by a equally insipid border force that puts a blanket across your shoulders, gives you a cup of tea, a Kit Kat, and takes you to a four-star hotel. That is not smashing the gangs, but the whole thing is nonsense. The whole thing is nonsense. It's deflection. It's distraction. You know, if he says we've lost control of our borders, Kevin, what he's saying is the country is being overrun and we can't stop it. And that is effectively an invasion. And so there's no point, and I go back to my earlier point, there's no point arming up the military, getting ready for a Russian invasion if we're already lost.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, yeah, we're getting ready for a Russian invasion, and yet we allow this ongoing invasion from France to just continue and continue and continue with no deterrence whatsoever. It is getting absurd. A real problem, a government that will not confront the issue, a rising crisis that concerns millions of people in this country. It really does.
It's the end of the United Kingdom. Kevin, it's the end of the United Kingdom. It's the end of us as a country. If you can't enforce your borders and you can't control them, that is literally the end of a country. No borders, no country.
I agree.
It's so simple.
I agree, and the problem is you have to ask yourself, is that actually what Keir Starmer wants? I suspect it is. Listen, let's go to break now, Ben, and when we come back, we're going to talk about how politics works, some of the dirty tricks that go on. We will address that next, so stay tuned.
this guy, obviously did a very extreme thing, but I do worry that we've lost sight of free speech in this country, and it's why so many Americans look at us and just think, what is going on? Especially with this Public Order Act, under which he was charged. I mean, there've been so many amendments over the years. Yep. I think it's stretched beyond all recognition to prosecute people for things that they're not really. It's not really in balance with whatever that person has done.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with the chairman of the Great British PAC, Ben Habib. Ben, let's talk about the way Westminster works, shall we? It can be a dirty place. Some people, the jobs they do in the House of Commons, they must need a shower when they get home. There's a guy called Andrew Gwynn, who used to be Labour's health minister until February. You may remember when his WhatsApp group was exposed. Mail on Sunday, big exclusive. It was him and his little mates all making nasty, sexist, racist jokes about his constituents up in Greater Manchester. And also, the most shocking thing was they talked about an old lady who'd complained about bin collection. And Andrew Gwynn said, well, we won't have to worry about her too much. With a bit of luck, by the next election, she'll be dead. So he was immediately fired from the Labour Party, immediately fired from being health minister, and lost the whip and became an independent MP. Disgraced and finished, you might think. Now, what's happened now, though, is that Labour's bigwigs, the sinister string pullers, those Machiavellian Westminster types who make things happen behind closed doors, behind the scenes, they are working on Andrew Gwynn not to quit his constituency, which is Gorton and Denton, which is in the middle of Greater Manchester. And the reason they don't want him to quit was if apparently he's of a mind, as you would in his situation, just say, walk away from politics. He's finished after what happened. So he's thinking of just quitting and leaving. Labour is saying, oh, look, we can't really have you back in the party, Andy, but for God's sake, don't quit. Do your party a favour and don't quit. And you know why? He's got a 13,000 majority, but if he quits, everyone's pretty certain Reform will do a Runcorn and will win. Will be another humiliating by-election victory for Reform over the falling mantle of Labour. So they are trying to get this guy to stay to avoid the humiliation of a by-election. I mean, shame on them.
So there you have it, Kevin. A party which recognises the man is not worthy of being in the party, but doesn't want him to leave Parliament, the supreme lawmaking authority, the supreme authority in the United Kingdom. Not good enough for the party, but good enough for Parliament if it prevents them from, losing a bit of power. It prevents Reform UK from gaining another seat. And whatever my differences are with Farage, and there are numerous, I hope that Reform UK take this seat. I hope this man resigns as he should as an MP. I hope Reform UK stand, and I hope they obliterate the Labour Party's representatives that they put forward, the representative that they put forward in this seat. They have no moral right to continue to hold that seat, particularly now that they've tried to get Gwynn to stay in it. Yeah. And if Gwynn had any moral compass left, it doesn't sound like he's the kind of guy who's got a moral compass, but if he did, he too would quit. You can't be in Parliament, say the things that he said and hold the views that he held. You can't do it. They're mutually exclusive. How dare you talk about your constituents like that? I know we might be talking about Hermer and his comments likening people like me to Nazis. Frankly, that's more. I'm prepared to have the debate with Hermer because I know I'll win that debate. But as far as Gwynn is concerned, you can't talk about your constituents like that. You've got to go.
Yeah, and he's obviously an independent, so technically Labour don't hold that seat. It's a weird system, really. He gets he gets voted in as a Labour MP.
There'll be a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors.
Disgraces himself, and then so he becomes an independent. Now they're begging him to stay, not to have him back in the party. They can't do that for obvious reasons. That will make them look terrible. But you know what they'll be saying to him? Come on, Andrew, you're still a Labour man. You've got to help the Labour movement here. You've got to think about the bigger picture. Please don't quit, because if you quit, there'll be a by-election and we will lose.
Lose.
So Andrew Gwynn, as you say, if he has any morality at all, should resist these overtures and should resign, because that is the decent, honourable thing to do now. But his track record so far would indicate that we shouldn't go out and bet too much money on him doing the honourable thing.
And Kevin, they won't just be appealing to him. There will be all sorts of deals being proposed. The machine doesn't work in a simple "please do this" kind of thing. There's pressure. There are incentives. They use the power of patronage in order to influence people. I don't suppose they'll ennoble him, but that's always a trump that political parties use to, try and keep people sweet, that they wish to, change their behavior by promising seats in the House of Lords and so on. The whole thing is rotten. It was really interesting. You said, you come out of Westminster, you want to have a shower. I often go into Westminster and I meet people, and I come out and I literally, Kevin, I feel dirty.
Yeah.
I literally feel dirty.
Yeah, some of the stuff that goes on in the Palace of Westminster in the name of politics, it's just disgusting. It's disgusting what they get up to.
It is disgusting.
I mean, the Whip's office. That is like a den of thieves. They're terrible people, what the Whips get up to, of all the parties. And this really is the Whip. This will be the Whips at work. We don't want to lose another by-election like we did Runcorn. So in the end, what this effort is all about, it's about trying to deceive the people. Or if we get another Runcorn, then the people will start to work out that maybe Labour aren't very popular. So I know what we'll do. We'll deceive the people by persuading this utter loser, this nasty little man, Andrew Gwynn, to stay on as the thoroughly undeserving MP for this constituency. He shouldn't be there. I feel sorry for the people of his constituency, for the people of Gorton and Denton. There's another element to this, Ben, which I think is very relevant and interesting. Guess who the neighbouring constituencies are, or whose MPs, who are the MPs who represent the neighbouring constituencies up there in Manchester next to Andrew Gwynn? It's one, Angela Rayner, and that guy who pretends he's a solicitor, but he's now the pretend...
Jonathan Reynolds.
Yeah, the pretend business secretary, Jonathan Reynolds. So Labour fear that if they lose this key seat that's currently owned by Andrew Gwynn, there'll be a domino effect and they'll lose two very big wigs in their party. So it's all very sinister, all very underhand, just another day in the Whip's office of any old government. But it'll be interesting to see what Gwynn does. My feeling about him, from what I've read and what I've seen, he'll probably do what they tell him.
There'll be a deal being done. Isn't it sad, though, that the bigwigs in the Labour Party are a failed lawyer, and Angela Rayner, who, frankly, I mean, I don't wish...
I know where you're coming from, Ben.
It's like, if that's the best they've got and they fear losing them, we are done.
Yeah. I mean, this has nothing to do with the type of person Angela is, or her class, or her creed, or her colour. This has nothing to do with this. But what I always say is, yes, I fully agree. We are in the hands of an incompetent moron. Our Prime Minister is useless, beyond compare. But if you think this is bad, you wait until Angela Rayner is our Prime Minister. It'll make this look like a walk in the park. So I agree with you there. But she's a big wig. They don't want her to lose her constituency. So interesting times up there. Well, let's move on, and when we come back, let's talk about our friend Richard Hermer, Lord Richard Hermer, increasing calls for the Prime Minister to sack him because of his juvenile comparing of right-wing reform MPs, politicians, right-wing Tories, to Nazis, because they want to leave the ECHR. If you want to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, as far as Richard Hermer, our sixth form Attorney General, is concerned, you're as bad as Adolf Hitler. You're just another Hitler. We can't have Attorney Generals with that kind of juvenile attitude, can we? Infantile nonsense, sixth form politics. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay where you are.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Now, let's talk about Richard Hermer. This was a man that none of us have ever heard of before this government. One of Keir Starmer's first acts as the newly elected Prime Minister, after we made that great mistake of voting him in, was to ennoble his mate, his little lawyer friend, his little human rights lawyer chum, Richard Hermer. So Richard Hermer became Lord Hermer. This enabled Keir to promote his old mate, to appoint his old mate, the Attorney General, the most important lawyer in the country. He's got no experience of politics whatsoever, and frankly it shows. We learn along the way that he's got quite a track record of leniency, refusing to review unduly lenient sentences for serious sex offences, and of course he is the architect, remains the architect of the ridiculous self-harming Chagos Islands giveaway. We think that old Dicky boy here, old Richard, is very keen to give away the Chagos Islands because he's one of those idiots, you know, who's straight out of the 1970s or something, who thinks, oh, it's colonial, British imperialism, colonialism, we've got to give the lands back to their rightful owners and all this. Absolute nonsense, absolute nonsense. So he's the architect of that dodgy deal. But where he really put his foot back in it, Ben, was last week. He suddenly announced, we learned in a speech, that, well, he compared right-wing politicians from Reform UK and also the Tory party. You can take it, Ben, that you're included, probably people like me as well. All of us who feel we want to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, to stop being told what to do by a foreign court, the European Court of Human Rights, which has veto on what we're able to do with our migrants. In fact, veto on what we're able to do about virtually anything. It is the highest court in the land of Britain is a foreign court. It's the European Court of Human Rights. So we're all dubious about this. We want to leave the ECHR, if nothing else but for the reason that that's the only way we can start to solve the migrant crisis. We've got to get out of the ECHR. Herma last week compared you, me, Tories, Reform UK politicians to Nazis. That basically, because our views might be slightly right of centre, we're the same as Adolf Hitler. This kind of infantile nonsense should not be tolerated in a senior politician in the very senior position of Attorney General. Even Labour cabinet ministers are said to be very fed up with this guy. Even they have noticed that he's useless, and they are urging Starmer to sack him. I wouldn't bet the farm on that happening anytime soon, but the pressure is on, and even though Starmer might not sack his old mate, he damn well should.
He absolutely should. So the charge sheet against Herma is very, very long. He represented Gerry Adams, who some people may still remember as effectively an IRA terrorist. He tried to change the Legacy Act that the Conservatives brought in to draw a line under the atrocities in Northern Ireland. He tried to change that so that Gerry Adams could bring a case against the British government for having been imprisoned in the 1970s. He is a man who made the case for illegal migrants from Chagos, as it happens, to come to the United Kingdom. He represented Caribbean islands in their attempt to get reparations from the British government. And he has represented many people whom you and I would judge as having absolutely no right to be in this country, people who hold this country in contempt and shouldn't be here in the first place. Lord Herma is a danger to the United Kingdom. He is also completely wrong when he suggests that the ECHR, the European Convention of Human Rights and its court, the European Court of Human Rights, in any way has a legitimate democratic representation in this country. Article 21 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights requires that countries are run democratically. And the point that you made, Kevin, so well, is that this is a foreign court. It is run and governed and occupied by people whom are unaccountable to the British people. It is an anti-democratic court which holds the most superior authority when it comes to human rights law in the United Kingdom. It is essentially an undemocratic court, and it breaches the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that it should hold sway in the United Kingdom. It is anti-democratic in its very existence, and Herma must know this. The other thing that the European Convention of Human Rights does, as embodied in British law, is basically set aside the difference between British citizenry and civil society in our country and those people who are from abroad. And it completely equates the two. Human rights, to the extent that they exist to protect the fundamental needs of humanity. They are not designed to set aside the interests of independent sovereign states or the interests of the people of independent sovereign states. They're not designed to get rid of the privileges that should go with citizenry. But the way human rights law has been used in the United Kingdom is to effectively make it meaningless that you are a British citizen. It elevates anyone who's come to this country, whether legally or illegally, to the status of effectively being a British citizen, and then subsequent acts of Parliament, like the Equalities Act, have actually promoted those who've come to our country over and above, and therefore to the detriment of British people. Herma knows everything I've just said. This is nothing like Nazi Germany in 1930, which was the parallel he was trying to make. It is the European Convention and the European Court that is fundamentally anti-democratic. And therefore, he should know that those of us, including yourself, myself, and I suspect many listeners and viewers, are absolutely in the right when we say the European Convention of Human Rights and the European Court should be removed from the fabric of British law.
Absolutely. Just a few words on the kind of person this guy obviously is. You know, I don't mind, I mean, I don't agree with him. I don't mind him having extreme left-wing opinions. If he wants to be anti-British and feel that we're imperialists whose colonial past must be dismantled, I mean, that's up to him. I disagree with him. It's up to him. But to turn round to all of us who disagree, all of us who, as you quite rightly explained there, Ben, who have extreme reservations about our subordination to the ECHR, to turn round and call us all Nazis, to liken us to Adolf Hitler, that is a juvenile approach to life, let alone
pathetic.
Politics, that I don't think can be tolerated or should be tolerated in a person who is our Attorney General. That is the problem here.
Absolutely. And the fact that Starmer stands behind him speaks volumes about Starmer. And you rightly, I think, suggested that Hermer is anti-British. I'm sure he is. And Starmer is anti-British. Everything I see in Starmer, all the actions he takes, all the things he says are effectively anti the nation state of the United Kingdom, including, of course, his failure, inability and unpreparedness to protect our borders. These people shouldn't be in office. The nation state of the United Kingdom requires that we have people that actually believe in it to be governing us, not these monkeys.
Yeah, exactly right, exactly right. And his track record as Attorney General in other areas isn't great either. He has refused to review sentences that were said to be unduly lenient given to a rapist, a paedophile and a terrorist fundraiser. He let all of their allegedly lenient sentences rest. He also is the person who personally signed off on the prosecution of Lucy Connolly. If he knew anything about freedom and liberty, he would question whether or not this should be a country, Britain, that sends people to jail for things that they write on social media. I say we shouldn't be that type of country. I say nobody should go to jail for what they write on social media. But Hermer probably doesn't think anyone should go to jail about what they write on social media as long as they're left-wing. If they're right-wing, he wants to chuck them all in jail and throw the key away.
Absolutely. And we saw today that however vile it might be to burn the Quran, for example, and it is a vile act to burn a book, any book, frankly, but it is not worthy of imprisonment.
It shouldn't be illegal. I don't think it should be illegal at all.
Absolutely should not be illegal. I've toyed with the idea of going out on the street and burning a Bible and seeing what would happen to me. I can't bring myself to do it because I'm just not that kind of person. But I bet if you were to burn a Bible on the street, not a thing would happen to you. No one, you might see some people around you, castigating you, but that's as far as it would go. You wouldn't be arrested, you wouldn't be charged, you wouldn't be remanded, you wouldn't find yourself in prison for any period of time. But you burn the Quran, which has somehow become affiliated. The blasphemy laws have now somehow become affiliated with this extreme form of anti-British sort of Marxism that the Labour Party is practicing. And perhaps it just suits them. They're convenient political bedfellows because it's all anti-British. If the foundation of anti-Britishness is what they have in common.
Well, I'll tell you, Ben, why. We're going to cover this story separately a bit later, but I'll tell you why, in my view, what I would call an educated view, I'll tell you why Labour are sanctioning the effective return of the blasphemy laws, the medieval blasphemy laws that we quite rightly got rid of in 2008. They're sanctioning the return of them by another name. It's now called public disorder, religiously motivated public disorder. They're sanctioning that because this guy was protesting against Islam and he burnt the Quran, the book of the Muslim religion, and Keir Starmer wants to tell the Muslims that he won't allow that in this country because he wants their vote at the next election.
I'm sure that's right.
It is as simple as that, and that's a disgrace. I mean, yeah, as you say, Ben, nobody. I'm not condoning the burning of the Quran or the Bible or the Jewish Tanakh or any religious tract, but in this country, a free Western democracy, if you want to do it as a protest or for any other reason, frankly, as long as you don't harm anyone else, you should be allowed to do it.
Absolutely right.
And
absolutely right.
The return, this effective prosecution of this guy today for effectively blasphemy is a serious step backwards, and I'll tell you who's going to come on and talk to me about it, just to prove that some people, it's not about politics, this is about freedom. Peter Tatchell, who is as against the prosecution of this guy, he's a Hamid Koskan, he's as against it as you and I are, Ben. So
wow,
this
I'm
is
amazed.
Tatchell is a good guy. He's not the same as us, but he believes in freedom, and he is against what happened today. And here's to Tatchell for that. I'm a big admirer of Tatchell. He puts his money where his mouth is. So we'll be talking to Peter later. But when we come back, we'll talk about the government's really tough-talking, impressive commitment to the defence of this realm. Stay tuned. We'll talk about that next.
You know, this guy, you know, obviously did a very extreme thing, but I do worry that we've lost sight of free speech in this country, and you know, it's why so many Americans look at us and just think, what is going on? You know, especially with this Public Order Act, you know, under which he was charged. I mean, there've been so many amendments over the years. Yep. I think it's stretched beyond all recognition to prosecute people for, you know, things that they're not really, it's not really in balance with whatever that person has done.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, I don't know. I'm still with Ben Habib, chair of the Great British PAC. I don't know if you were glued to the media yesterday, as I was for some of the time. You'd have thought that, you know, we are all residing in the greatest military country in the history of the world. You've got Labour trumpeting its 10-year plan to get Britain ready for war. Defence Secretary John Healey boasting about taking the tough decisions to reduce overseas aid and spend more on defence. The government mooting that 3% of gross domestic product will be spent on defending the realm. Fighter jets will be equipped with nuclear missiles, and the UK's mighty military all tooled up and fully prepared for conflict. They're all writing in the papers, big piece by John Healey in the Mail on Sunday. Yes, yes, we're back in business. Military, Britain, yes, rule Britannia. 12 nuclear subs to be built at the cost of 15 billion quid. Believe that when I see it. So far, so good, Ben. All very good. Then John Healey, the Defence Secretary, goes on to Laura Kuenssberg's BBC show and she says, well, yeah, all this money and then it boils down to this, that he says we have a historic commitment to increasing defence spending to 2.5% in 2 years. So they're hoping to go up to 2.5% by 2027. And this 3% that they've been making all the noise about, President Trump will be so pleased with 3%. Quietly, in this interview with Laura Kuenssberg on the BBC, John Healey, the Defence Secretary, says it's just an ambition. In other words, it ain't gonna happen. They're gaslighting us again, aren't they?
They are. And, you know, let's just get these numbers into perspective. So 3% of GDP, assuming we got there, is about 6% of the government spending, roughly. And what we spend on welfare and benefits in this country is 35% of government spending. What we spend on the NHS is about 25% of government spending. What we spend on our defence is 6% of government spending, assuming we hit this target. It is absolutely ridiculous. The United Kingdom, you know, rule Britannia, as you said. The backbone of a country is its confidence in its ability to defend itself. That is the backbone on which every individual gets up every morning and goes to work feeling secure. And we are not secure. We're a country that has hollowed out its military. We don't spend anything near enough on it to protect ourselves. Our borders, as we discussed earlier, have been removed. This is a country in peril. Yet this government would spend more money on benefits, more money on welfare, strip money away from those who are working, spend it liberally on its ideological, ridiculous aims, not do anything to propel the economy in this country, practice wealth redistribution over wealth creation, kill aspiration, create and inculcate the dependency culture, trash our history, trash our belief in ourselves, and then expect that we're going to buy this nonsense that hopefully they can raise the spending on defence to 3% of GDP. And that all assumes, by the way, Kevin, that there might be people who are prepared to join the armed forces and protect the country that they've heard trashed all through their educational years. Well,
let's get this right, Ben. What Healey said to Laura Kuenssberg was that essentially he says we have a historic commitment to increasing defence spending to 2.5% in 2 years' time. That's 2027. So whether or not they do that is a moot point. But then he went on to say, then we have an ambition to meet 3% in the next Parliament. Well, first of all, John and Keir, if you're listening, you aren't going to be forming the next government. You're gone already. So that's a joke. So Laura Kuenssberg said to him and said, hang on, whoa, wait a minute. So it's still just an ambition. That's not a guarantee. And Healey had to accept that. He did not commit this government to actually reaching this 3%. So it's, once again, it's like smash the gangs. It's performative. It's headline hunting. We're making the tough decisions. 3%, but they're not. They're just pretending.
It's nonsense.
This is just headline hunting, and this blizzard of publicity, rule Britannia, is nothing to do with guaranteeing this nation's safety and its defence. They're not guaranteeing it. We are going to carry on down this route where we're not properly defended.
If you remove benefits from foreigners who are in this country, and you remove the incredibly generous package we give illegal migrants, we could increase defence spending by 20% without blinking. 20% without blinking. We're a country that is being hijacked by the ideological failures of those that govern us. We could protect this country. We could make it great. We could be independent. We could be prosperous. But our government chooses repeatedly to choose policies and adopt them that are damaging to the country. And again, I come back to where we were earlier in this conversation. We said Herman was anti-British. I cited Starmer as being anti-British. They're anti-British, Kevin.
And you know that famous phrase, the best way to achieve peace is to be ready for war.
For war, absolutely.
Now, here's the problem with Britain. We're nowhere near ready for war.
No.
We've got like 70,000 troops. That's all we've got. Wouldn't even fill a championship football ground. That's how many troops we've got. All of this stuff, 13 nuclear subs. Aeroplanes will be equipped with nuclear weapons. 3%. This is just talk. None of it is real.
Nonsense.
Our nation is not ready for war and therefore is not ready for peace. We are in a very perilous position.
We are. We're in a terrible position as a country. The reason I'm on this show with you right now is testimony to that. I'm only in politics because I fear greatly about the direction of travel of this country. I think we're facing an existential threat. We're facing, it's the absolute collapse in political will to do what's right by the country that has promoted me into politics.
Absolutely, Ben, and you do a damn fine job. I mean, I just want this government to realise you cannot base your entire sphere of activity around headline hunting, around gaslighting us. There comes a time when you actually have to do something, and they've got to do something about our perilous defence situation. Ben, fantastic to talk to you as always. He'll be back on again soon. That's Ben Habib, chair of the Great British PAC. I'll be back in a little while talking about our friend, old Lindsay.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to the second hour of tonight's Political Asylum. We're not doing this as a story, but I wonder what you feel about this Maddie McCann investigation. All due sympathy, of course, to Maddie's parents and her family. But, man, it's how long is it now? Getting on for 20 years or something. And we're still, we learned today, we're still taking taxpayers' money and giving them to the police to investigate what happened to Maddie. I mean, you know, again, I don't want to sound unsympathetic, but, you know, what is it? How long was it? 2007? I mean, why is our tax money still going on that lost cause? Seriously. 03444991000. Again, I'm not trying to sound unsympathetic, but there are a lot of missing kids out there, a lot of missing people. Why do we keep piling money, throwing money at this particular lost girl, Maddie McCann? Why? It just seems, you know, we've exhausted every avenue. Surely that investigation by any sensible matrix is over now. Stop wasting our money on it. That's my view. What do you think? 03444991000. Also in this hour, in just a little while, we're going to talk about foreigners. £1 billion a month we, British taxpayers, are spending on benefits for foreigners, people who come to live here. £1 billion a month. It was only 461,000 in March 2022. So now it's up to, it's sort of more than doubled in 3 years. So foreigners get the same UK welfare as us. The moment when they come over here, break into the country illegally, mostly come over on an illegal boat, but we let them stay, and as soon as we allow them to claim asylum, that in my view they don't deserve, because they broke into our country illegally, but as soon as you are now an asylum seeker, we start giving them full British benefits, the same as you or I are entitled to, you know, having been born here, having been British citizens all our lives. Well, these people come over within about 3 weeks, they're getting the same as British people. £1 billion a month going to foreigners on British welfare. 03444991000. And we'll be talking about the burning of the Quran. This 50-year-old guy, Hamid Koskan, who today was found guilty of a public order offence motivated by hostility towards members of a religious group, in this case Muslims, Islam. It doesn't really matter about Islam or Muslim. The point is, we shouldn't be having these laws, should we? That's a blasphemy law. We got rid of those laws in 2008 because, frankly, they're medieval. If you want to protest by setting fire to the Bible or the Torah or the Quran or any other religious tract in a free democracy, I maintain you should be able to. What do you think? 03444991000. So lots still to come in what's going to be a very, very busy hour. Before we get to that, though, we have to talk about our friend Sir Lindsay Hoyle. He is the Speaker of the House, the big spending Speaker, of course, who stands accused of wasting. He says he didn't waste the money, of course, of wasting the best part of £300,000 on expenses in 3 years of travelling glamorously, globe-trotting glamorously. He hires very expensive chauffeurs. He stays at £900 a night hotels, flies first class and business class around the world, apparently taking the word, spreading the word about speaker-led democracies to countries all over the world. Australia, South Africa, Malaysia, California, The Caribbean, you mention it, he's been there, always very expensively. So that is a big problem. I'm always wont to mention when I run through his list of expensive expenses that when he went to Montserrat in the Caribbean, he actually hired a private jet. I don't think it was a private jet, I think it was a private plane. So he hired a private plane. Well, now, thanks to a Freedom of Information request by the Daily Mail, it is revealed that he didn't just hire one private plane on that trip. He hired three private planes at a cost of £5,500 to the taxpayer. This was to traverse the Caribbean as part of what we're told was an incredibly vital official visit to meet Lindsay's speaker mates on the Sunshine Island of Montserrat, his counterpart on this little island of Montserrat. Then he went on to stay in Anguilla to attend the Conference of Speakers of the UK House of Commons and Overseas Territory. And he also went to St Martin and Antigua on 3 private jets. So we're paying for him to hire private jets to island hop around the Caribbean. He would maintain this was necessary expenditure to attend these important conferences and to spread the word about speaker-led democracy and to meet his counterpart on the massively crucial strategic island of Montserrat. Many of us maintain that there's a thing called Zoom. You don't really have to spend all this money. Don't forget, this is the same guy who sort of presided over £7 million being spent to improve his palatial parliamentary apartments in Westminster, and also a £36,000 portrait of the great man, which now adorns the corridors of power in Westminster. So once again, more evidence that Lindsay Long-Haul Hoyle spends a lot of our money and people don't like it. Let's speak to political commentator, former Tory, now Reform, Tim Montgomery. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Hi, Kevin. Good to be with you.
Yeah, your thoughts on this. Now, you and I have discussed this before, and the reason I keep doing this story, and I'm not the only one, is we've got a problem with it. I know for a fact that the people of this country, many people, I know because of my switchboard and all the messages I get on social media, many people are worried, are concerned about the level of Sir Lindsay Hoyle's spending on behalf of the Speaker's office, on behalf of his job. He has expanded the role of the Speaker into one of kind of international diplomat, travelling more than any other Speaker ever has before. We learnt last week that he's increased his staff in the Speaker's office from 12 to 21, taking the wage bill in the Speaker's office from £550,000 a year to more than £1 million. 300,000 on expenses around the world. Now, I understand.
So Kevin, someone has to book all his private planes.
Well, exactly. That's what I was saying. Yeah, we know what they're busy at. But seriously, my point is, Tim, that people are concerned about this. They want a proper explanation. We don't really get one from Lindsay, and not a single one of the 650 MPs who represent the great nation of Britain in the House of Commons will challenge this guy because they're terrified. Because if they get on the wrong side of the Speaker, he will never call them to make a speech, and therefore they will remain silent in the Commons. So they're terrified to criticise. The people want something done about it, but we're in a position of kind of impotence. We can't do anything. Our MPs won't do anything. Our Prime Minister won't do anything. This guy, arguably, people say, is out of control. What can be done, Tim?
Well, I think this is our 5th occasion, Kevin, talking about it, if I'm right.
Yeah.
And you've done a great job. The Mail on Sunday, the Mail has done a good job in exposing this. But I think what you've just said is the key thing, is that not one single MP has had the balls, has had the guts to stand up in Parliament and just ask an innocent question. It doesn't even have to be a leading or a judgmental question, but just ask for the Speaker to justify this expense. And let's hear it from his own mouth, why he's spending all this money. I don't think there is a good explanation for it, but at least give him the opportunity in the House of Commons to explain. But I'm afraid the MPs have shown themselves to be frit. Do you remember Mrs. Thatcher used that word?
Yeah,
you can't say cowardly or in the House of Commons. It has so many rules, but you can say frit. And I'm afraid the MPs have been frit in not holding their speaker to account exactly for the reasons you've suggested. They're afraid that if they do stand up for the taxpayer, they won't be called to ask any more questions.
And the only response we've had from Lindsay Hoyle, I mean, he has been, he's responded to the press, to the media, responded to me a couple of times, also to the Mail Group in particular. So he issues these kind of fairly perfunctory statements about how it's very important, that he takes the message of parliamentary democracy to the world, meets his opposite numbers in various countries around the world. I mean, it's all very well, but that doesn't explain why he has decided, unilaterally it seems, to completely change the role of the Speaker. No Speaker before him ever did this amount of international travel. No Speaker before him interpreted the role of the Speaker to be one of international diplomacy.
No.
And weirdly, he sees as one of his most important roles going round the world telling foreign countries how important it is that we all support Ukraine. Well, that is not a job of the Speaker, and it's rather a dubious thing to be going around the world preaching about, because it is actually a government policy. It isn't the sort of massive policy of the country or the people. So he's actually spreading a Labour policy to the world. But it's a weird thing for him to think that that is his job. I would say it is not the Speaker's job to tell foreign countries how important it is to support Ukraine.
Well, can I correct you on one thing, Kevin? You just said that he's going around the world. As far as I can tell, he's going around the Caribbean. He's going around some of the... He seems to be going around some of the most beautiful resorts in the world. He's not going to Belgium or Denmark or Finland, as nice as those countries are. He's going to the places where people in Britain, taxpayers who could never afford to go on holidays like that, he's paying to go on to places like that. So it's not as though he's doing all of the world. He's going to very select parts that cost a lot of money and beyond the pocket of most British families.
Indeed. And I want to stress that, I'm not saying necessarily that Sir Lindsay Hoyle is playing fast and loose with the public purse. I'm not necessarily saying he's doing anything wrong. I'm saying that the people of this country deserve a full explanation of why he, as I said earlier, it seems unilaterally has redefined the role of the Speaker and redefined it in a way that entails a lot of very glamorous travel on his part. I think we are owed a full explanation, and we're not getting one because no politician is demanding one. So that's all I'm saying is, come on, Lindsay, tell us what this is all about.
Yeah, and you're being fairer than I am in that sense, Kevin, because I'd be tougher on him. I think this is abuse of money. I think the nature of where he's going raises much bigger questions for me, I'm afraid. So you're a little bit kinder than I am on this subject.
Well, I'm not particularly kind. I'm just saying that's sort of as a journalist. I mean, I share your disquiet over this, to say the least. Personally, as a citizen of this country, I'm extremely concerned about the amount of my money this guy is spending traversing the planet in fine style.
Traversing the Caribbean.
Yeah, and the Caribbean. Well, it's not, you've got that wrong, actually, Tim. It's not just the Caribbean. It's also Los Angeles. It's South Africa, it's Australia. It's Malaysia, always glamorous. He doesn't seem to go anywhere that doesn't have palm trees, put it that way. But seriously, so that's my concern as a citizen. As a journalist, I want a proper explanation. We haven't had one.
Yeah.
You can respond if you like,
well,
Tim.
Parliament, I voted for Brexit. Look, I voted for Brexit because I believe Parliament is sovereign. That's the way our constitution works. Parliament is the place in our country where laws can be changed, where things can be done. I wish some of the lawyers in our country would recognise that. But Parliament being sovereign only works if MPs do their day job. If MPs stand up and hold all of their counterparts including the Speaker, to account. And I'm afraid they're not doing that. And that doesn't just bring the Speaker into disrepute, doesn't just bring the MPs into disrepute, it brings Parliament into disrepute. And we should all worry about that.
Absolutely, absolutely, Tim. Tim, good to talk to you. You'll be with us tomorrow as well, I do believe. That's Tim Montgomery, political commentator, who should join me tomorrow, I think around about 7:30. But I know he's been very interested in the Lindsay Hoyle case. What do you think? So this conference that he hosted, per se, or sponsored on the part of this government, entailed a 4-night stay in the lovely island of Anguilla. This was the Conference of Speakers of the UK House of Commons and Overseas Territories. So I guess it was his gig. But in total, including all these flights, Sir Lindsay, we're told, splashed out more than £100,000 sponsoring this VIP gathering. Now, do we need to spend this kind of money on that kind of event? Times are tough. People are struggling in the cost of living crisis. This guy's spending £100,000 on a conference of speakers in the Caribbean. That's our money. Do we need that? I mean, if they didn't have a conference of speakers in Anguilla, do you think it would make a blind bit of difference to anything? So I would suggest we could save £100,000 by not sponsoring the Conference of Speakers of the UK House of Commons and Overseas Territories in Anguilla. And by the way, if it's of the UK House of Commons, if you must have it in London. Get them to come to us. We could save some money. Your feelings, folks, about Sir Lindsay Hoyle, Long Haul Hoyle. What can we do? Just stop Hoyle? What can we do to just stop Hoyle flitting off on all these glamorous trips? As I say, all we're looking for is a proper explanation. To be honest with you, I haven't seen one. I haven't seen a satisfactory explanation for any of his trips. There's always, oh, well, it was an important meeting. I had to go and see the Speaker of the Cayman Islands Parliament. I had to go and see the Speaker of the Montserrat Parliament. Yeah, but really? Did you? Did you? I don't think you did. What's going on here, folks? Let me know. 0344 499 1000. Well, we'll take your calls next on this and other topics. So get on the phone. Let me know what you think. I'm particularly interested to hear what you think about Saturday's massive migrant invasion. Nearly 1,200 people coming across in a single day. The worst since 2022. The fourth biggest number ever. And certainly the highest number by a mile this year. What is Keir Starmer doing to solve our migrant crisis? And don't let him tell you, I'm going to smash the gangs, because he isn't smashing any gangs, is he? Hasn't even found a single gang, let alone smash them. And even if he did, it wouldn't make any difference. What is this guy and his Home Secretary, Calamity Cooper, what are they doing to solve this migrant crisis? What are they doing anything at all? Can you see anything at all? I don't think they're doing a damn thing. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. And let me know what you think about the defence spending review. 3% of GDP to be spent on defending the realm. No, it's not. It's just an ambition. They're hoping to get to 2.5% by 2027. And then after that, it's just an ambition. I'm not even sure whether they're committing to 2.5 by 2027. So let me know. Are you buying into Keir Starmer's and John Healey, the Defence Secretary, their new tough guy stance? We are going to defend our nuclear weapons for our planes. We're going to nuclear submarines. We're going to get 15 more. We're going to spend £15 billion. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, it's all words, isn't it? It's all words. What are we actually going to get out of this? These people headline hunting. And what's in danger here? Us, our safety. Seriously, they're playing fast and loose with the defence of this realm. Can't have that, can we? Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. All of that next. Get on the phone. Let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk.
this guy, obviously did a very extreme thing, but I do worry that we've lost sight of free speech in this country, and it's why so many Americans look at us and just think, what is going on? Especially with this Public Order Act, under which he was charged. I mean, there've been so many amendments over the years. Yep. I think it's stretched beyond all recognition. So
I haven't looked at the evidence in that particular.
All right, good to know.
Well, don't forget the woke DEI agenda in the armed forces as well. There's a great joke that goes around the United States where they say, the easiest way to work out whether we're at serious risk of military intervention or a military escalation is when the ads for recruitment go from, the DEI rainbow flags to just seeing young working class white blokes with guns saying, come and fight for us, because then, things are getting serious once again.
So Axel Rudakubana.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, in the studio, really pleased to have him here. It's the Research Director from the Centre for Migration Control, Robert Bates. Welcome, Robert.
Thanks for having me, Kev.
Well, let's talk about the basic story, but it really, your area of expertise, you must have watched, like the rest of us, with a mounting sense of horror, the Armada, the invasion that happened on Saturday. 1,195 migrants came across on 19 boats. Apparently they stopped 184 or so. They stopped about 10 more boats. So they did do something, the French, which is unusual. So we saw this invasion, which of course always begs the question, why are they coming? Why are they coming? Well, one of the reasons they come is when they get here, they break into our country illegally, and instead of locking them up and sending them back to wherever they came from, we start giving them money, we give them benefits, we give them 50 quid a week, we give them free food, free accommodation, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, and then at the moment they then apply for asylum, and at the moment we accept their application, that doesn't mean they're approved to stay, but they can stay on an allegedly temporary basis because we've accepted their application for asylum. At that point, they become official refugees, and at that point, they become officially entitled to exactly the same benefits as you and me, every British citizen that was born here. That is absurd. It is so crazy. It is off the scale. But guess what, Robert? It is now costing us an astronomical £1 billion a month in benefits to foreigners. That's what we spend. Technically, these are households with at least one foreign national in them, but that means foreign nationals. We are giving them, in March, £941 million, so nearly £1 billion. That is up from 461 million in March 2022. So in 3 years, we've more than doubled the amount of money we're giving to foreigners, many of whom won't officially even be allowed to stay here on a long-term basis. We are giving them £1 billion a month, and we wonder why they keep coming.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to say it, Kev. I think the British taxpayer at this point exists solely, it seems, to fund the lifestyles of foreign nationals, people that aren't even migrants that have achieved British citizenship, whether it's those that are given refugee status and then sign on, which a very large number of them do. The work rate amongst those that are given refugee status is on the floor, effectively, or it's those that have just arrived and are being put up in asylum hotels, or whether it's even the foreign aid budget as well. You have to really think that the way the Treasury is dishing out the cash is gone so far from actually supporting and building on the national interest that it is now very difficult to see how the social contract stays in touch. 12 billion effectively is what we're talking about here, going in universal credit alone. That's not including the child benefit, that's not including housing support as well. Going to foreign nationals, people that aren't even a citizen of this country every single year. It's not just the illegal migration crisis, of course, there's a large part of it being the legal migration crisis, but I'm utterly convinced that we will see this situation explode over the next couple of years, as well as the small boat crisis continues to grow, and those that have come legally but are on low wage, low skilled jobs continue to be given the right to sign on for benefits as well.
I'll tell you how mad this is. You know, these people, as I say, basically they break into our country illegally, and probably within the space of 3 months, 4 months, you know, they're on pretty much full benefits, getting the same as British citizens. Of course, that's something of an enticement. You know that the people smugglers are saying, you get over there and, you know, they'll kick off by giving you 50 quid a week, but fairly soon it'll be about 500 quid a week, plus your food, plus your free accommodation and all that. And we wonder why they come. Now, that is so mad. That is so mad that even Angela Rayner, we know, has been leading the growing Labour chorus behind closed doors, calling for Rachel from Accounts, Rachel Reeves, to reduce or stop benefits to foreigners. So even Angela Rayner, that scion of the far left, is saying, look, this is mad. You know, these people are breaking into our country. We're giving them 300, 400 quid a week. We've got to stop doing this. It's costing too much, and we're never going to solve the migrant crisis if we're essentially saying, hey, if you manage to get across the channel, within about 3-4 months, you'll be getting 300 or 400 quid a week. It's crazy. Even Angela Rayner wants to stop it.
Well, look, I've never thought Angela Rayner is completely in control of what she actually thinks about an issue. She seems to have been buffeted from pillar to post on each ideological question that's come up over the last couple of years. But I think we need to remember and not lose ourselves here. The Labour front bench is one that is well and truly seeped in international law, in international obligations, in anything but Britishness, effectively. Yeah. They have obligations to every Tom, Dick and Harry, so long as they don't actually live in these isles, unfortunately. When it comes to the draw factor as well, though, I think we need to be completely frank here. The way Europe is going, and the frank conversations that we're seeing in places such as Germany and those in the Eastern Bloc as well, Britain is increasingly becoming an international outlier at this point. And if you're a migrant looking to make a life for yourself in Europe, and you're looking, where's the biggest soft touch? Where can I go and make sure that I'm going to have the land of milk and honey that these people traffickers have promised me? It's Britain, because unfortunately the Labour Party, by scrapping the deterrent, by making sure that they're focusing on the people smugglers rather than those that are looking to break into our country, have completely almost given these people carte blanche to come into the country. This is not what we see on the continent. Every other country, every other capital in Europe is increasingly looking to clamp down on this. Our Prime Minister is busy going on about smashing the gangs and trying to abide by the ECHR, and if you question that, you're a Nazi as well, apparently. So I think we are going to see this situation absolutely skyrocket over the next 4 years, and this year alone we will see 50,000 guaranteed. Now I can promise you.
I think that's a conservative estimate, the way it's going. We're 42% up on last year. There's 14,200 just about who've come over already this year. So in 5 months, that is the highest number in 5 months ever. That amount that came over on Saturday, 1,195, is the biggest number in a single day since 2022, and the fourth biggest number in a single day of all time. And I think, you know, we can bang this drum a lot, but it's a drum that has to keep being banged, and it's this Prime Minister and this government, all they do when we see this getting worse and worse and worse. Saturday was a catastrophe. What do we get from? Smash the gangs, smash the gangs. How much longer, Robert, are we going to have to go on before Keir Starmer accepts what the rest of us knew 6 months ago? Smashing the gangs doesn't work. He hasn't caught any gangs, he hasn't smashed any gangs, and even if he did, there would be new gangs tomorrow. If you want to smash the gangs, Keir, or anybody for that matter, stop the migrants. There'll be no people smuggling gangs if there are no people to smuggle, right?
Exactly, and every time I see Keir Starmer try and talk about this issue, as he was doing today, I find myself getting increasingly infuriated. You know, I think most of the British public want to throw their shoes at the TV when they see him try and talk about this plan he's got to solve the problem. Well, Keir, you've had almost a year now to solve this, and it is getting worse, not better. At least, you know, I'm very loath to give the Conservatives credit for the way they handled the illegal migration crisis, but at least they recognise that if you don't want people to come to the country, you have to make the offer very unappetising. I don't think they went far enough, but Labour have completely given up on even trying to do that. So if I were an incoming government, what I would do to stop this crisis very clearly is to stop an immediate freeze on asylum applications, because I think the crisis is absolutely creaking at the seams.
Yes.
And I would begin ensuring that those that are in accommodation or in dispersals or in hotels are swiftly removed within 2 weeks and have no right to appeal on this. And then we need to start looking at the broader illegal migration crisis as well, because of course we've got 1.2 million illegal migrants already in the country before we start looking at the channel as well. So this is something that's got completely out of control, and I really hope that an incoming government, whether that's the Conservatives or the Reform Party, are looking at the situation and thinking this is exactly what we need to be doing.
Yeah, and finally, to go back to what we were originally talking about in terms of amendments that have to be made to the way we handle this massively escalating crisis. We've got to do something about the benefits, our generosity towards these visiting foreigners, many of whom we didn't ask to come. They broke into the country, giving them £1 billion a month in benefits. Something has to be done about that. We can't keep leaving the message lying there, hanging there to all these migrants in Calais. All you've got to do is get across that 21 miles of water, and once you get there, you're in the land of milk and honey. They're going to give you load of benefits. Well, if nothing else, I mean, I'd like to send a message. You get across the channel, we'll turn you straight round and deport you. Or even better, you won't get across the channel, we'll stop you and turn you round. I'd like to send them that message, but that is a long shot of forlorn hope, the way things go with this government. But at least we could say you're not going to get any benefits, as opposed to £1 billion a month. We've got to do recalibrate our ludicrous welfare generosity to these migrants, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very easy change that needs to be made as well. If you're not a British citizen, you don't get a penny of taxpayers' money in benefits. It's very straightforward. If you can't support yourself, tough. You can go home or you can move yourself elsewhere, but we are done with handing out billions of pounds every single year to people that don't make any contribution, many of whom have broken into our country, treated the British public with the utmost disrespect by saying your borders don't matter, I'm more important than your national sovereignty and national identity. So we need a complete decisiveness to really start emanating from the top. And again, I hate to keep saying it, but the next 3 years are going to be so disappointing for those of us that want to see tough border control, because the Labour Party will do nothing.
Yes, it really is getting very worrying now, and I don't suppose it'll be long before we discuss this escalating crisis again. Great to have Robert Bates, Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control, on board. Your calls next, 0344 499 1000. You might want to call about that. £1 billion, basically, of your money and mine being given to foreigners who broke into the country illegally on benefits. Not all of them broke in illegally, but that's how much we're giving to foreigners, people who weren't born here. £1 billion a month. It's insane. It's insane. 0344 499 1000. That next. Stay tuned.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Go to the phones in just a second. Here's a text from WhatsApp note, anyway, from Stuart. He says, if Starmer doesn't sack Hermer, that's Richard Hermer, Lord Hermer, the Attorney General. If Starmer doesn't sack Hermer, it means he agrees with what Hermer said. Well, I think he does. Of course he does. You know, they're all like student activists. Yeah, right-wingers, they're Nazis, they're Nazis. Makes them feel good. Here's Lorraine. Starmer's refusal to sack this appalling excuse for our judiciary simply highlights Starmer's viewpoint. We must now assume Starmer has the same opinion as Hermer. Well, of course he does. That's why his first act as Prime Minister was to ennoble his old North London Guardian reading human rights lawyer mate, Richard Hermer, make him a Lord so he could make him a Attorney General, and he's not up to that job. He really doesn't know what he's doing. He's inexperienced politically, and my God, it shows. He's the guy that gave away the Chagos Islands. See, he's the architect of that. Right, let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Melvin in Hexham in Northumberland. Hello, Melvin.
Hello there. Wonderful show.
Thank you.
Listen to it all the time.
Thank you.
Reason for the call is just broadbanding. You know, I'm in my late 70s now, and I've seen what's been going on over the last few years, and we are heading for total and utter disaster. And when will people actually think about what's going on and actually do something positive? I know people are trying to do things, and we listen to your program constantly, and we hear all the great comments that you're making, but nobody seems to be doing anything to go forward.
I know, Melvin. I know what you mean. It's interesting to have a man of your experience on the show, because,
Thank you.
You know, I've been around not quite as long as you, but I've been around a fair time as well. And I, like yourself, I'm looking at what's going on now. I have never seen this country in more of a dysfunctional mess. And my God, we've been through a few dysfunctional messes in both of our lives. But this is like nothing before. We are off the scale in chaos now, I do believe, and I'm worried about it, aren't you?
I'm worried about it. My wife is absolutely bereft about it, because, you know, we're ordinary people. We've grown up, we've worked, we've paid our taxes, we've done everything that we should do, and we're now getting persecuted for being normal people. And our lives going forward, where's the end? Suicide?
Well, it's like people like us, Melvin. We're now seem to be the enemies of society. I mean, I don't want to sort of sound divisive, but the worst thing to be in this country now is a middle-aged, middle-class white guy. You are public enemy number one there. So you're right that what we used to sort of classify as a kind of normality is the last thing that anybody wants these days. And more, you know, the extreme minorities are being represented, are being looked after, whereas the majority isn't. I mean, I was talking just now, I should have brought this up. We were talking about the migrant crisis. And here's one thing that we do that is mad. We give these migrants who break into our country illegally, we pay for their lawyers to fight their case to stay. Why don't we say to the migrants, look, if you must come and break into our country and we haven't got the resolve to turn your boats around or deport you, we should say to them, it seems to me, right, OK, you come here, you claim asylum, you want a lawyer to represent it yourself? Pay for it. We're not paying for it. How about that for a kick-off?
Yeah, well, sure, I totally agree with everything you're saying, but nothing is being done.
About anything, Melvin, about anything.
It's all being swept under the carpet. Nobody is standing up there in government, in opposition, whether there's 5 MPs or 200 MPs, they're all hiding because they're all guilty.
Well, hopefully we've got some MPs on the way who will represent the people as opposed to the current lot of MPs who mainly seem to represent foreign people. But I share your despondency, Melvin. I really do. We've got this migrant crisis, which is in a complete mess. We've got a government doing nothing about it. That's Melvin in Hexham in Northumberland. Let's go to Darcy in Southend-on-Sea. Hello, Darcy.
Oh, hi, Kevin. Great show as always.
Thank you. What do you want to talk about? Smashing the gangs? They're not really. Not really smashing any, are they?
No. Well, again, it's like what you're saying to Keir Starmer, run a bath, let alone the country. What on earth is he doing? Like, it's just unbelievable. Like, is he even in touch with the working people? Like, his manifesto has been an absolute load of lies.
Well, also, he's like a robot, you know. He's like a sort of Christmas doll or something, the Keir Starmer doll. Pull his string and he'll go, smash the gangs. Pull the string, smash the gangs. Smash the gangs. I mean, he's a robot who every time you say, oh, Keir, 1,200 people broke into the country illegally on Saturday. What are you doing about this? Smash the gangs. We've got to smash the gangs, the evil people. Well, he's not smashing the gangs, is he? He hasn't even caught a single gang yet. No gang smashed, and still these migrants come. Yesterday or Saturday's invasion, 1,200 of them. The biggest number for 4 years since 2022. The fourth biggest number ever in a single day. It's getting worse and worse and worse, Darcy, and we have a government that's doing nothing about it.
Well, for me, so my wife, she works 12-hour shifts in the NHS, and we just had to pay for an indefinite leave to remain, which is like £3,400.
Yeah.
So to come home today and to see that more coming in completely for free is an absolute insult to people that are doing it the legal route.
Absolutely, Darcy. I think you got a kid behind you that is demanding your attention. But very good point, and our best to your family. Thanks, Darcy. Darcy in Southend-on-Sea. When we come back, we're going to go to break now. When we come back, we're going to talk about what I think is another very disconcerting situation. A guy has been convicted, found guilty of a public disorder offence with religious motivation, which many people say is the return of our blasphemy laws, which we got rid of in 2008. And I think this is the return of our blasphemy laws, and we don't need that in this country. He burnt the Quran as a protest. Doesn't like Islam. He's got a right not to like Islam. It doesn't matter what his reasons are. He's got a right to protest about Islam, and frankly, if he's not putting anyone else at risk, I think he's got a right to burn the Quran, just as he could burn the Bible or any other religious tract. In a free Western democracy, you should be allowed to do that, and I think it's very worrying that we now seem to be making that illegal. You can't burn the Quran. You will be prosecuted. What is this? It's not 2025, 1525. Come on. That next, stay tuned.
What we saw last week was the first time that Reform sort of dipped a toe into anything that wasn't really detailed immigration policy on the economy, made a lot of big spending commitments. It gave his struggling opponents suddenly a chance to really rip into Reform, and the numbers, frankly, didn't really stack up. We need to see... Sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Bloody hay fever. I'm going to sneeze again, but I'm going to keep trying to make this point while I do it. I didn't sing for you, but I will do a comedy turn nonetheless.
You know, this guy, you know, obviously did a very extreme thing, but I do worry that we've lost sight of free speech in this country, and you know, it's why so many Americans look at us and just think, what is going on? You know, especially with this Public Order Act, you know, under which he was charged. I mean, there've been so many amendments over the years. Yep. I think it's stretched beyond all recognition to prosecute people for, you know, things that are not really, it's not really in balance with whatever that person.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. After the 9 o'clock news, I'll be joined by Kinsey Schofield all the way over from LA. Well, she's actually in LA, so we'll be talking to Kinsey about the latest goings-on Planet Meghan and Harry. So that after the 9 o'clock news. But before that, I think this is a very worrying situation. A 50-year-old man, a guy called Hamit Koskan, he's a Turkish guy, lives here, has been prosecuted for a public order offence motivated by hostility towards members of a religious group, namely Islam. He burnt a copy of the Quran outside the Turkish consulate in London. He's got a long beef against the Turkish leader Erdogan. He says Erdogan is turning his beloved country, Turkey, into a Sharia law regime, a kind of tyranny. So that's why he was doing it. I think he should be allowed to do this. Let's talk to the director of the Peter Tatchell Foundation, specialising in human rights, Peter Tatchell. Welcome, Peter.
Good to join you.
I think that you and I are on the same page on this one. I believe this is a problem in terms of freedom of expression, freedom of speech. Now, I don't encourage anyone to go out and burn the Quran or the Torah or the Bible. These are sacred religious tracts, and if you do that, you will offend members of that religion, and I would suggest don't go out to be offensive. But if you want to make your point in this very dramatic manner, setting fire to the Quran, as I say, it could be another religious tract, but if you want to set fire to a religious tract in this country, as long as you don't harm anyone else, to make a point, to make a protest, surely you should be allowed to. It should not be a criminal offence, and it certainly should not be a criminal offence motivated by hostility towards members of a religious group. But because of that clause, Peter, in his offence, in what he was found guilty of, it seems to me that is a return of the blasphemy laws. We don't want that, do we?
Absolutely not. I mean, I personally would not burn any book, but this is an issue of freedom of expression. In a democracy, people should have the right to express their opinions, even quite robust and offensive expressions of opinion, providing it's within the law, in particular, providing it's peaceful, and as you say, does not harm anyone else. In this case, the judge has effectively ruled to reintroduce blasphemy laws, which were abolished in England and Wales in 2008. Moreover, he suggested that Hamit's actions were an attack upon followers of religion. But in fact, he was not attacking Muslims. He was attacking the way in which Islam is being abused by the Turkish regime to crack down on human rights, and the way in which the Turkish regime is facilitating Islamist extremists who want to turn that country into a fully fledged Sharia law state with the grotesque human rights abuses that would involve. So I think what the judge has failed to make is a proper distinction between criticizing an idea, Islam, which is perfectly valid. All ideas should be open to scrutiny, criticism, even ridicule, including my own. But that is what he did. He did not attack Muslim people, which would be very, very wrong. We must protect Muslim people, but Islam as an idea must be open to criticism by those who criticize it. And by capitulating to the demand of Islamists in this country who want Islam to be protected under new blasphemy laws, the judge has torn up freedom of expression, and he has given a green light and a great victory to those, that minority within the Muslim community, who would like to impose Sharia law type restrictions on people's expression about Islam.
Yeah, and there's been much made of the essence of his offence was his hatred of Islam and his hostility towards Islam. Well, in Britain, this is a free democracy. If I want to hate a religion, if I want to be hostile towards a religion, again, as long as if I'm not harming anyone else, I should be allowed to harbour those feelings, shouldn't I?
Absolutely. It is a fundamental human right to have freedom of expression, and that sometimes means the expression of opinions that some people may find offensive and disagreeable. But that's what part of being a democracy is. It's about allowing disagreeable, offensive views, providing they don't harm others and they're peaceful. And there was nothing, unpeaceful about what Hamet did. In fact, a man attempted to stab him when he burnt the Quran, and as far as I know, that man has never been prosecuted. He came at him with a knife, and I've heard no news that man has been ever prosecuted for what could have resulted in the murder of Hamet Cookson.
Yeah, this guy approached him holding a knife, saying, "It's my religion. You don't burn the Quran." As we've discussed, Peter, if you want to burn the Quran, you should be able to. It's as simple as that. Just as you should be able to set fire to the Bible or the Jewish Tanakh, whatever religious tract you want to, if you must, if that's how you see your protest unfolding. And
one of the strange things about this, Kevin, is that if he had burned a Bible in front of Westminster Abbey, I doubt very much whether he would have been arrested.
I was going to ask you that, Peter. Suppose it was a Bible. I suspect the outcome will be different. Why do you think that is? Why is it that we're coming down like a ton of bricks on him for setting fire to the Quran? But in all likelihood, we all know that if you set fire to the Bible, people will go, "Oh, look at that harmless eccentric." Why do you think there is that disparity?
Well, there's no doubt there are double standards, and that's wrong. The law should be equal and applied equally for everyone, regardless of who they are or what they say. I think there is an understandable concern that we don't double down on the Muslim community, who already get a lot of stick and are often unfairly scapegoated and demonized. But we have to make a clear distinction. The majority of Muslim people in this country are not Islamist extremists. Rightly, people want to resist Islamist extremists who, of course, not only threaten the whole society, but in particular threaten Muslim people who don't adhere to their strict interpretation of Islam. The worst and most severe victims of Islamist extremism in this country are fellow Muslims who are cowed into silence, women who are pressured to wearing the hijab when they don't want to, women who are forced to stay at home by their husbands when they want to go out, because under a hardline interpretation of Islam, women shouldn't leave the house, and certainly not unescorted by a male guardian. We have to say really loud and clear that this is an issue of freedom of expression, and concern for the Muslim community should not spill over into capitulation to Islamist extremists who want to censor criticisms, prevent criticisms of their faith.
Exactly right. And as you quite rightly point out, the vast majority of Muslims in this country, 4 million of them, would take our view about this. They would agree with us. that in a free democracy you should be able to burn religious tracts if you so choose. As you say, also, there's a small number of noisy extremists who kind of want Sharia law here, and they're the ones banging the drum about this. They're the ones saying that this kind of prosecution should always happen to anyone who's disrespectful towards Islam. And that is the whole point. You know, I don't want to be disrespectful towards Islam or any man or woman's religion. But if I want to be, I should be able to be. And these extremists within the Muslim community, they should be slapped down. They should be told, no, this is Britain. You can't do this.
There's some very bizarre thinking here. The Islamist extremists, their slogan is, God is great. Well, if God is great, he doesn't need the protection of earthly laws. God is great, he will survive. For God, he won't care about criticisms because he is great.
I'll tell you what, I think you're right, Peter.
Double thinking going on there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm going to go to church on Sunday and ask him exactly where he stands on this God. But seriously, Peter, really good to talk to you. Always a pleasure. Peter Tatchell there, director of the Peter Tatchell Foundation, specialising in human rights. Is he right? The blasphemy laws, we've got to get rid of them. Kinsey Schofield next, though. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. What's this then? What's this doing here? It's a pineapple. Why am I telling you that? You know? This is a pineapple, folks. You ever seen one before? No. You know it's a pineapple. It will become clear why I have a pineapple in just a moment. In fact, as soon as I begin talking to the brilliant host of the Kinsey Schofield Uncensored podcast, Kinsey Schofield. Hello, Kins.
Unfiltered. Piers
Unfiltered.
Morgan.
Have I got it wrong?
Piers wouldn't let me
I got
use
uncensored. Who put that on? Hang on, Kinsey. I've got to tell the staff off. Who put that there? Who put uncensored?
I would love to be uncensored.
It's Fariza. It's Fariza. Sorry. Yes, Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. There you go. Not my fault, Kins. So I've got this here, this pineapple, and let's play the reason for it. It turns out that with Love Meghan, that toweringly tedious, useless TV series on Netflix, telling us how to make things like ice cubes, giving us recipes for ice cubes, and how to sprinkle dry flowers onto canapes and God knows what. Right, so we thought some of these instructions are really, really condescending. We don't need instructions on this. Well, those were the better ones. At least one of the instructions that she came up with, one of her handy hacks, her handy hints, was so condescending that even with Love Meghan left it on the cutting room floor. Here is Meghan showing you how to eat pineapples.
Trick that people do with pineapple, instead of just cutting it to make the perfect little bite, you follow the wedge. When nature has given you all the cues on how to have a perfect taste of something.
Oh, how fun is that? I love it. It's easy. All right, is it gonna work? Am I good? It's great.
Right, that was incredible, wasn't it? So yes, how to eat pineapples. So because you've got the nature that's giving you these little squares or hexagon, well, that's a hexagon, isn't it? That you can, it's easy. So I'm going to do it now, Kins. Right, one, there you go. There you go. There you go. Do you think I'm following the instructions okay? It's pretty complicated. Here we go. There it is. Look.
Oh my gosh, it's, you know, it's like someone should tell Meghan Markle, maybe it's Brooke Shields, that if it was cut out of the show, it's probably for a reason.
There it is. I'm going to do one more because Fraser went out and bought this, so there's the least we can do. Right, you're watching this. Right, so I'm going in on the hexagon, in there like that. This is the most exciting thing I've done on this show since we ate her jam, her non-jam. So here it comes. Look at this. Nature has provided us with this handy hint. There you go.
Thanks, Meghan Markle. I mean,
thanks, Meghan.
You'll live to see another day.
Incredible, incredible. What a handy hint. Thank you very much, Meghan. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
The jokes are that she just watches these. I think I said this originally, and one of the guests I was up against was like yelling at me about it. I can't remember. Afia Hagen or something.
Oh, yeah. Afia, yeah.
Chill out, Afia. She was, you know, Meghan watches TikToks where you watch something accomplished in 15 seconds and then tries to stretch it out for a 45-minute episode. And this is just not the way our brains are functioning anymore today. That did not need to be an entire segment. That could have been just something cute that she created to quickly to tease this show. But the fact that she just, you know, in the article that came out today about the Brooke Shields podcast interview, where Brooke Shields said, I interrupted Meghan at South by Southwest, and I thought she's being too serious. She's too precious. She's too serious. She was talking about how Katie Couric asked Meghan something, and Meghan went into the story for the 560,000th time about the dish soap, the damn dish soap, about how when she was 11, she wrote the dish soap company. And Brooke Shields said, I interrupted her, and I said, well, that was cute. When I was 11, I was playing a prostitute, because she said the audience didn't listen to Meghan telling that story. She was like, you know, Meghan's so precious, but too serious. And the audience didn't want to sit there and listen to that. These stories are totally similar to me. Meghan is not box office. She doesn't get entertainment. She doesn't know what people want. She's not entertaining whatsoever. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm just saying she's, at the end of the day, she's a snore.
Yeah, well, so it's Brooke Shields and you as well, Kinsey, completely agreeing with me. I've always said this. She doesn't know how to be entertaining. She's taken a bucket full of boring pills, and whatever she does is just boring. It's tedious because she just does not know what is compelling, what is entertaining, what is fun to watch. I don't think she really cares very much. But the pineapple tip, wow, that's very life-changing for me. So I'll leave the pineapple lying there. I'm looking at the hole in the side of the pineapple. By the way, everybody, this is my tip when it comes to pineapples. What you do is you get hold of it, right, and you chop it down the middle. You do it in slices. It's much easier than pulling bits out there, and it's much nicer. So there you go.
How much time does this woman have on her hands?
I know.
Like, get a job, Megan.
I know.
Like, you've set up the expectation to where we don't expect anything new from you until 2026. But for the love of God, do something beyond cutting up a pineapple into teeny.
Yeah, well, that was so pathetic. It didn't even make With Love Megan. Even that ended up on the cutting room floor. To be deemed too unimportant to be in With Love Megan, I mean, that is bad. But anyway,
It just shows you just how ignorant and delusional Meghan Markle is, that it did end up on the cutting room floor, and she thought, like hell, I'm going to make sure that the world sees this. This is important.
This is important. You're right. She's got it out there anyway. Big deal. How to eat a pineapple. Thank you, Megan. I think we can handle that ourselves.
And by the way, we know why she eats a lot of pineapple, and I'll leave it at that. You know, there's something that there's a reason why Prince Harry sticks around. I'll leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're better. Well, let's talk about a story. Big story in the papers yesterday. Obviously, it was around a little bit before that, but I think it's an important story. It is as his ongoing feud with his own family gets worse and worse. Not talking to the king, his dad obviously not talking to William, frankly not really talking to any of them except maybe Eugenie. That's about it. The rest he's just not talking to. As that carries on, this ongoing feud, apparently when he came here recently and he saw Princess Di's son, Charles Althorpe, his brother, Charles Althorpe, he discussed, Harry, with Lord Spencer, for that is him, Charles Spencer, taking the Spencer family name. I'll become Harry Spencer because, you know, I'm friends with you and I'm not friends with the rest of them. Now, you think about that for a second. I mean, Spencer, to his credit, said, Harry, you know, this is going to cause too many problems. This is just not worth it. I suggest you stick with your own family name, Mountbatten. However, Harry wanted to change his name. Can you think, Kinsey, of a worse betrayal of his father, the king, King Charles, and the royal family than trying to ditch their name and take on someone else's name? What a horrible thing to think.
Yes, I can. It's called the Oprah Winfrey interview, calling your family racist. But yeah, I mean, it's in the same category of completely disrespecting your family, your father who has cancer. This has happened, I believe, since we found out that the king has cancer. So it's ludicrous. I understand that Earl Spencer had a conversation with Prince Harry and discouraged him, saying that there were a lot of legal things a lot of hoops he'd have to jump through. It was going to get complicated. But at the end of the day, Tom Bauer tells us in Revenge that the Spencer family doesn't like Meghan Markle either, that Harry introduces Meghan to Princess Diana's sisters and Earl Spencer, and is so eager for them to agree with him that Meghan is the second coming of Diana. And Princess Diana's sisters and brother absolutely dismiss this. In fact, Earl Spencer encourages Harry to pump the brakes and to take a break and not marry Meghan so quickly because he's not convinced. Not only is he not convinced that Meghan is the second coming of Princess Diana, we find out in Revenge, but he's not convinced that Meghan will fit into the British royal family. And he's worried that Meghan will be unhappy, that Meghan will kick back, will fight back, and won't won't try.
Got that right, didn't he? Got that right.
won't try to fit into the British royal family. You know, she really prides herself on being a rebel, and she prides herself on her feminism while utilizing her husband's title. And so I think I'm sure it is a lot. I'm sure that the advice he gave him was great, you know, and technical and legal. And yeah, this is going to be a nightmare to try to navigate. But at the end of the day, I also think it's about the Spencers not wanting the association with Meghan. And when it comes to Harry and Meghan's ultimate objective, yes, it was to hurt Harry's family, but it's also this obsession with hijacking Princess Diana's legacy, trying to use her popularity to elevate themselves. And Harry saying, well, William, you can have the royal family, but I get our mom. I'm going to milk our mother for all I can, whether it's Meghan with Archie standing in front of the large portrait of Diana in their home in the Netflix series, or Harry constantly comparing Meghan's issues with safety in the press and the paparazzi and media interviews. These two are obsessed with Diana's legacy, and I don't think that they do her any favors.
Well, they don't, and it's interesting what you say there, that this is it, wasn't this is probably why Harry was interested in becoming a Spencer, is because it would make him even closer to his mother's memory. He has this obsession with his mother, you know, all due sympathy with him. Poor kid lost his mum when he was only 11, but I think his obsession with Diana now is weird. I think it's weird. Yeah.
We cannot deny Meghan Markle's Meghan tries to play it down, but I found out later that she approved Drew Barrymore bringing out the picture of Diana for the segment she did on the Drew Barrymore show. I found out later that was all set up, that was all approved. According to Andrew Morton's book about Meghan Markle, Meghan was gifted a copy of Andrew Morton's book, which Diana helped co-write, and that was on Meghan's shelf. When Diana died, Meghan did a fundraiser in Diana's honor around town for children, I believe, right after Diana's death. She stayed up late to watch the funeral. You know, there are all of these things in Andrew Morton's book about Meghan's, there people report that she wore the same perfume Diana loved when she met Prince Harry, although I don't know if I believe that one. But there are
Wouldn't
reports.
put it past her.
I know, but there are reports that Meghan, who wears Diana's jewelry constantly, is fixated on her as well. I believe in Tom Bower's book, he says it's her objective to be Diana 2.0.
Absolutely. I mean, in fairness, I'm not quite sure that Diana co-wrote Andrew Morton's book, but she certainly supplied all the information. Yeah. She sat down with him rather sensationally, hence we got the full shocking story of what had been going on behind palace doors. And as I say, I can see why Harry would want the Spencer name, but it's a shocking betrayal of his father and his family. But as you say, just the latest betrayal of his father and his family. I sometimes wonder about Prince Harry. I mean, I just think he's not very bright, but he just says and does things that are so hurtful. I just think he's too dim to work these things out. It's a shame. Let's.
If he's looking for a last name, he can always borrow Hewitt.
Harry Hewitt. Oh, we must banish these thoughts from our cynical minds. Let's talk about Meghan, though. While she was still here as a frontline royal, working with her husband, of course, it was all going pear-shaped, all going wrong. And you remember there was the Sandringham Summit. This is when the Queen and the then Prince Charles and William called a summit at the Sandringham Palace in Norfolk here in Britain to discuss what Harry and Meghan would do. This was at the point where Meghan and Harry said, we want to leave, we want to do half and half, we'll do some royal duties, but we'll go to America and make a load of money as well. And the Queen said, well, I don't think so, I don't think so. Anyway, they had this summit, the Sandringham Summit 2020 it was. Anyway, the royal courtiers who organised this meeting apparently made sure that Meghan wasn't in attendance. Harry could be there, but not her. They were worried about Meghan being there because they thought, well, Meghan's a lot smarter than Harry and she'll make a lot of trouble. She'll be difficult to handle. So they kept her out because they thought that she would cause problems. Now, I agree with them. I think Meghan is a tad smarter than Harry, but that isn't saying much. And I think what we've seen in the past year with Meghan proves that although she's cleverer than Harry, she's pretty dim herself.
Yeah, and she has very unrealistic expectations across the board. Now, at this point in time, the royal family has asked Harry to sit down for these negotiations because Meghan and Harry, without the royal family's permission or without giving them any warning whatsoever, have erected and launched a website that has outlined their expectations for this new royal role that they want to craft for themselves, with no talk to Prince Charles at the time, no questions to the Queen about how she feels about this. This website goes up and they say, we're going to live half in, half out. We're going to live in Canada and we're going to spend some of our time in the UK. We're going to work with grassroots media outlets. We're not going to work with the Royal Rota going forward. We're going to launch, it was Sussex Royal. And at the same time, Meghan has bought several Sussex Royal related URLs and tried to trademark the Sussex Royal name because she does want to start this commercial venture. And the royal family is finding about all of this secondhand. There was no communication beforehand. They skipped Christmas, spent it in Canada, and schemed the entire time. I also love to stress, while they're in Canada scheming and building this website and meeting with people behind the royal family's back, Harry takes a call from who he thinks is Greta Thunberg and has a come to Jesus with what we find out later is a YouTube prankster. He's such a moron. So they get up. He goes back after it's announced that Harry and Meghan are stepping down. Harry gets on a plane and tries to immediately go see the Queen without the Queen's permission, like gets off a plane, gets in the car and tries to go accost his grandmother. He wants this face-to-face with her. And her team says absolutely not, because they understand how manipulative he can be, how manipulative his wife can be. And they just want to ensure that she's protected and she has a team around her. And they make sure that they say no, but we'll do this Sandringham summit. And the king will be there, the future king will be there, Prince Charles, Prince William will be there. They did a nice lunch beforehand. Prince William doesn't show up for the lunch because he's not into pleasantries at this point. He feels so betrayed by his brother. He has no idea what's to come.
Yeah.
And Meghan wants to be on a call. Meghan wants to be dialed in. She wants to be on a Zoom. And the courtiers say absolutely not, because they know she will secretly record the conversation and try to use it against them later. And they dismiss her altogether when it comes to this meeting. This is a family matter. This is a private matter. Meghan's barely been in the family. And they know, based on their actions leading up to this website, we're doing everything on our terms, that they can't trust these two. And at least they can have a little bit more control over Harry.
Absolutely. I mean, brilliant summary of that saga there from you, Kinsey. Let's move on to something that, as you pointed out to me earlier, it isn't exactly that new, but it seems to have reared its ugly head again. And I think that this issue is at the root of all the problems with the gruesome twosome, Harry and Meghan. It is money. So Tom Quinn's new book, Yes, Ma'am, The Secret Life of Royal Servants, reveals that Meghan was deeply shocked when she hooked up with the royal family, hooked up with Harry, because she assumed that as a prince, fully fledged British prince, all these palaces, all this money, that he'd be a billionaire. And she discovered, to her horror, that all he was a low-lying millionaire. He's barely a multi-millionaire, let alone a billionaire. So it turns out that he's a lot poorer than she had hoped. And ever since then, I think she's been trying to make up the difference. And hence all of these big attempts to become a billionaire, selling rubbish jam and honey and edible flowers and ice cubes and God knows what. And handy hints on how to cut up a pineapple, that sort of thing. This is what she's been trying to make up for since the moment she realised, to her shock and dismay, that Prince Harry was not a billionaire and that maybe these two were going to have to work for a living. And she's still trying to plug that gap with no success whatsoever. As I said to you last week, and I have been saying for weeks now, the problems going forward, the story, the narrative surrounding this two, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, going forward is going to be financial. Where do they get the money from to sustain their billionaire's lifestyle? That massive mansion, the private jets, the 19 bathrooms, is it? Just the lifestyle generally, the staff. They've just hired 11 people to work for them.
The nanny. Don't forget the nanny.
The nanny. We think probably a full-time chef as well. This is a billionaire lifestyle. And they've only at best got millionaire money, and she's not making any anymore because, as ever, her lifestyle site's gone wrong. There won't be any more Confessions of a Female Founder, her podcast series. Yet another podcast disaster for her.
We do get a new episode tomorrow.
Is that the last one, is it? Final one?
Yeah, she announced a surprise episode.
Oh, a surprise! Oh, how exciting! Oh, wow! I won't be able to get to sleep now.
With Beyonce's mom, so I guess she's going to teach Megan how to turn Lily into a pop star. I don't understand what Beyonce's mom is going to teach entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs about, but YOLO.
Yeah. It's. I wasn't. So it's like Megan going. I wasn't able to secure Beyonce as a guest.
That's 100% what this is.
But boy, oh boy, I've got her mum.
This lady incubated her.
Yeah.
I got the incubator right here.
Unbelievable. Well, that's very exciting to know. So there'll be one more of those, but it doesn't mean that series wasn't a total disaster. That'll be over. I don't think we're going to get one more series of With Love, Megan. I don't believe there'll be a third series. So where's the money going to be coming from going forward? I don't see any, do you? Where's the money coming in for this couple?
I imagine, well, first of all, how convenient for Meghan that Harry loses so many members of his family the second she jumps on board. I mean, the amount of inheritance he's received since he married Meghan Markle, she has lucked out when it comes to finances. Let's be honest.
To an extent. But he hasn't received billions. He's only he's a sort of low-lying millionaire, if you know what I mean, and that isn't enough to sustain their lifestyle.
Yeah, I think that this story came up again because she says in the Spanx episode of Confessions of a Female Founder that she feels a scarcity around money, and she's always afraid she won't have enough. And perhaps that's why we saw this story start to recirculate, and it gives us a better idea, that is something she fears, that is something she's fixated on. And we've seen that. The word desperation is probably lazy, but we've seen an anxiety and an anxiousness around her in 2025. I mean, they talked about how this was going to be the year of Markle Sparkle in Page 6 at the end of 2024. But the reality is there have been everything she's done this year. Nothing has really stood out as phenomenal or incredibly successful. She was torn to shreds for With Love, Megan. She's created affiliate links, Shop My links, I believe it is, where you can buy the clothing she wears and the makeup she wears, which is not something I'd expect from a duchess. She is selling, she sold jam and now says you won't be able to get it until 2025. So I don't believe she was ever excited or committed to that. She's saying she's thinking about transitioning to hospitality. I don't know what that even means. With her learnings, I'm taking my learnings. Okay. And then, the podcast, I just blink and you'll miss it. Nobody really talks about it.
It's rubbish. It was boring. It was very boring. It fell out of the top 100 after the first week, and God knows what position it languishes at now, but it's going to be around about 8,000 in the podcast charts. And as for As Ever, her lifestyle site, I mean, we discussed this, of course, Kinsey, last week, but I still can't get over what she said about As Ever, her lifestyle site, this lifestyle site that was going to make her a fortune. I'm trying to figure out what it could be. Well,
you've had 5 years to figure out what to me, it's amazing because the women she talks to on this podcast, most of them are self-made and can tell you about rejection after rejection after rejection, 4 years of research, 4 years of people telling them no and here's why, or having to pivot to to fix a problem. And with Meghan Markle, she decides to quit the royal family, and Spotify and Netflix show up at her doorstep with millions of dollars and say, whatever you want to do, we're going to let you do it. And she blew up the Spotify deal. No return on investment whatsoever. She collected all of those trophies, and Spotify said, we really don't care. You're not worth it. Yeah. And then with Netflix, they've only had one commercial success, and that was gossip about the British royal family. Everything else analytically has been a failure. She has been so blessed, because this is not the norm. And when you listen to her talk to these female entrepreneurs that have actually done it, they're self-made, you see how much she does not have in common with these people, because she was just handed opportunities because of the man that she married, and was so stuck in the past and bitter and resentful of the way that things didn't work out within the British royal family that I'm assuming this is a creative person, but I'm assuming it hindered her creativity, because everything she's produced since then has been a nightmare and has not impressed certainly the American audience. And every time I listen to one of those podcasts, you're just, who is this person talking to? Meghan talks to these people like she's an equal. And the reality is she has messed up so much with the opportunities she's been given.
Yeah, it's like you're running a business to her guest. I'm running a business. No, your guest is running a business. Your guest is a successful tycoon, successful businesswoman. You're not running a business that's making any money. You're not a tycoon. You're not a success. As I say, Kinsey, going forward, watch this space. Trust me, the story about these two is going to be money, money, money. Where's it coming from? Because as things stand, I think it's dried up. But Kinsey, fantastic to talk to you as always. We'll talk again on Thursday. The brilliant Kinsey Schofield there, host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Unfiltered, remember that. When we come back, your phone calls. We're going to take your calls. We're going to read some of your messages and read out your WhatsApp voice notes. So much still to come. Get your calls in 0344 499 1000. You know what we're talking about. Let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk.
So Axel Rudakubana, who is the Southport killer, what he has done, big story in front of the Sun yesterday, I'm sure you saw it, in regard to the privileges that he still has. He can buy Maltesers and various things. There can't be a governor who says to him, has a process, looks at the evidence and says, right, your privileges are being taken away, until the end of a police investigation.
Astonishing. If I was the prisons minister, that would be changed immediately with the stroke of a pen. I've never heard such woke, soft nonsense.
UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I've got lots of WhatsApp voice notes. I've got a few, I've got lots of messages as well. I'll read as many of them out as I can. This one's from Chris. He says, why don't they arrest the masked pilots of these dinghies? They're part of the gangs and human trafficking. Interrogate them. Chris is disgruntled and he's in Leicester. Well, the thing is, Chris, they're not part of the gangs. Now, you know when you go to a boating lake and they tell you how to, that's for forward and that's to reverse, and it takes them about 4 minutes to show you how to use it. Well, that's what these are not members of the gang. They're migrants. They're migrants who get a bit of a discount for actually steering the dinghy across the channel. So they're not members of the gangs. They're migrants. As for them being masked, most of them aren't, actually. You're up the wrong tree there. There are no people smugglers on these dinghies. Otherwise, it would be a very easy thing to do to arrest them, wouldn't it? Anyway, that's that one sorted out. Here is a WhatsApp voice note. This is Tony on defence spending.
Kev, it's Tony from Bournemouth. I'm just getting a little bit frustrated with all of the talk about when we will reach 3% of GDP for defence. Well, I'll tell you, if the Russians attacked us tomorrow, we'd find the money straight away. Just a thought.
It's a very good point, Tony. Needs must. Defence spending is something, it's all to do with how near you are to a war. So in the 1950s, just after World War II, Britain's defence budget was 7% of GDP, growth domestic product, 7%. We're now down to about 2 and trying to get it up to 2.3, 2.5, and maybe 3%, you never know. But without a real war, they won't bother. They won't bother. The nearer we are to a war, the more defence spending will happen. Good point. Let's listen to another WhatsApp voice note. This is Chloe on the migrant boats.
Hi Kev, it's Chloe from Gosport. I just wanted to say on the migrants, the only reason we didn't have any for 6 days is because their channel was a bit choppy and a bit windy, so they all came on Saturday. The forecast for this week is for more winds as well, and looking down at the beach today, it was quite rough out at sea. Our only protection is the weather, so maybe we should just put some wind machines mid-channel or something.
I think Chloe's right there. A lot is dictated by the weather. As the friend of mine down in Folkestone sent me some pictures on Saturday morning saying it's like a mill pond today, and it really was. I mean, not a ripple on the English Channel looking out from Folkestone. And guess what? On that day, subsequently, 1,200 came across, or 1,195 on 19 boats. So when the weather is calm, many will come, but they'll also often come on not particularly nice days either. The summer has just started. It's only, what is this, the 2nd day of June? The summer has just started. The real invasion begins now. The rest of the summer months, we're going to see thousands and thousands and thousands of them coming across. Good point, Chloe. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Angela in Newcastle. Angela, you want to talk about the Quran being burned? What would you like to say?
Well, I'm not very happy about it. I'm furious at what's happened to this fella. I don't know the whole story behind it, but was it his own property? He's got a right to burn it if he wants.
Totally right, totally right. Angela, couldn't agree with you more.
And not just that, the law, politics and religion should all be kept separate. They shouldn't intermingle with each other.
Yes, and freedom of expression involves the freedom to express your opinion about religions. And if you have a low opinion of Islam, of Muslimism, if you like, you should be able to express it. And if you want to burn their religious tract, their holy book, their sacred book, the Quran, you should be allowed to do so, just as you should be...
It shouldn't be rammed down our throats.
No, I totally agree with you.
I'm very, very worried about it all. I'm sorry, from my point of view, I see it as a sinister move. I really do.
I agree with you, Angela. I'll tell you what really is sinister about it is this is to appease the Muslim community. This is our government appeasing Islam or the Islamists in this country because they want their vote at the next election. Now, a lot of people in Islam, they do think it should be a crime to burn their book, the Quran. They're wrong, but they think it should be a crime. And the government's basically going along with that because they don't want to upset the Islamic community in Britain, 4 million of them, because they want their vote at the next election.
I think there's more to it than that. That may be part of it, but from my point of view, there's a deeper rooted meaning, and I don't.
Well, what do you think that is then, Angela? What do you think the deeper?
I just think there's a hierarchy. There's something else. There's top down sort of thing.
Well, it's a step towards Sharia law. That's for damn sure.
I'm scared of what's happening. I'm really, really fearful. It makes us wish I never had kids.
Well, that's a hell of a thing to say, but I sympathise with you, and also I'm with you. I mean, I'm very worried. This is all very sinister. We should not be prosecuting people for peaceful protests. And if that peaceful protest involves burning the Quran or the Bible or the Tanakh or any religious tract, so be it. It's a free democracy. It should be allowed. Angela, I'm with you. I totally agree with you. Very good call. Thank you, Angela in Newcastle. Let's quickly talk to Stephen in Hertfordshire. Hello, Stephen.
Hi, Kevin. Kevin, putting aside the financial aspect of the defence spending review, Starmer keeps talking about the creation of 8,000 jobs, 800 jobs in munitions factories. Where are these people coming from? I mean, if you're building a submarine fighter aircraft, I mean, you don't go down to a local labour and pull in 8,000 people, So where is he going to find?
Well, they like doing this, Stephen. Don't forget, they're also, this is Starmer and his mate Crazy Ed Miliband. They're announcing that GB Energy, this mysterious company that nobody can work out what the hell it is, government company, will provide jobs for thousands of people. Doing what? Doing what? I mean,
I was going to come to that. And also, this house building, 1.5 million houses.
They ain't going to build any houses. Don't worry about that.
They haven't got the manpower.
Well, nor do they have the money or the resolve. They won't be doing that. It's just more performative headline hunting by a government that just obsesses on publicity, public relations, rather than actually doing anything, rather than actually running this country properly. So I don't see the houses getting built. Everybody tells me that's a pipe dream. And in terms of creating jobs in the defence industry, the construction industry, the energy industry, it's just words. It's just words, Stephen. It ain't going anywhere. I'm with you. Stephen, good call. I've got to move on. Stephen in Hertfordshire there. Let's go to break. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your messages, more of your WhatsApp voice notes.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. A good text here from WhatsApp text anyway, from Sean in Somerset. He says, hi Kev, regarding Starmer sacrificing our freedom of speech and bringing back blasphemy laws, he will try and get the Muslim vote, but what he's not realising is that the pro-Gaza party will get the huge gains in the next election and not Labour. This is opening the door for a Western version of Sharia law, in my opinion. You make a good point, Sean. There's already, I think, 7 MPs in Parliament, in our Parliament, who are dedicated to the Gazan cause, to Palestinians. That's what they were elected on the back of. That's what they go on about, a foreign country. So you're right. Labour cravenly courting the Muslim vote. But the chances are that more and more of these independents will get that vote. It's a very good point. Before we go back to the phones, here's Dan, WhatsApp voice note on the migrant boats.
Anyone who comes there on a small dinghy, a little boat, make them do 2 years national service. Let's see how many of them come in. Then we invite them in, they do a job for us, and everyone's happy. Our national security and our army's up.
Well, it's a thought, Dan. I think there are problems about getting foreign nationals to be in your army, you know, particularly the kind of foreign nationals who arrive here from the Middle East, if you see what I'm saying. You know, we need some interesting thinking to solve our migrant crisis, and at least you're trying to think of something different there, Dan. Well done in that respect, but I suspect that putting them in the army is not the solution, but it's an interesting idea. Here's Ken on Lindsay Longhall Hoyle, the big spending speaker.
Oh, hiya, Kev. It's Ken in Dorset here. So, Longhall Hoyle has been travelling the world spreading the mantra of speaker-led democracies to other speaker-led democracies. Isn't that something like Colston, Newcastle? No, I don't get it either. Hey, great show, Kev, as always.
Ken, you know, I don't get it either. You know, he's always very important. I spread the message, spread the word. Even if he's spreading the word to unspeaker-led democracies, non-democracies that don't have speakers. Could we do without it? Could we save ourselves, you know, 300,000 on his expenses? Could we just stop doing this? Conferences between speakers in glamorous places? Of course we could. Wouldn't make a blind bit of difference. That would be my thought. Good one, Ken. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Tony in Lancashire. Hi, Tony.
Good evening, Kevin. Thanks for taking my call. Brilliant show, by the way.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks.
I'll tell you, it only feels like I've been watching you for 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, my 3 hours of fury every night.
Quick.
Well, it's good to have you on board, Tony. What would you like to say? You want to talk about the migrant crisis?
I'd be tough on these migrants. I'd send them back to France, and I'd revoke the fishing licence. You know, that deal, what bloody...
Yeah, Starmer gave them 12 years of free fishing, didn't he, last week?
Cancel that. Deal's not going through. Send them back. I'd be tough, mate.
Yeah, I think sending them back is something we should do. The Navy should be in the middle of the channel, turn them round.
They sent one boat back once ages ago, didn't they?
Yeah.
They sent one boat back, so nobody complained about that. So why don't they carry on doing that? Then eventually they'll get the bloody message.
Well, yeah, if we start, you're right, Tony. We start sending them back, they'll get the message, and they'll get the message fast. But we don't send them back. In fact, we just give them everything you could possibly imagine. Free food, free accommodation, doctors, dentists, lawyers, you name it, they get them. 50 quid a week, to benefits. It's a joke. So as long as we just offer them enticements, they're going to keep on coming, aren't they? But Tony, I think you're right. Let's send them back to France and get that message across. Good call, Tony. Tony in Lancashire there, making a good point. Let's go to Matt in Cheshire. Hello, Matt. What would you like to say?
Hi, good evening, Kev.
Basically, it was about reform.
Yeah.
I support reform fully. I voted for many sort of incarnations of Farage parties over the years. I'm behind them completely. They're saying some great things, but they're going to be judged on two things. Are they going to stop the boats? And are they going to deport every single illegal immigrant in Britain like they say they're going to?
Well, I'm not sure they do. I'm not sure they do say that.
Zia Youssef has said that. Not every single one, but he said we will deport anybody that shouldn't be in Britain. We will deport. He's been saying it regularly in the last few weeks.
Well, I would like to know where that stands, because Rupert Lowe fell out with the party, partly over his assertion that there should be mass deportations. Nigel Farage stood up and said, well, practically, in practical terms, reality, this is going to be very difficult to do. So I'm not quite sure if I can quite work out where reforms stand on this. But I do believe that they'll take a very hard-line approach to the migrant crisis. They will start turning the boats around. They'll stop letting everybody in. And I do trust reform to sort the migrant crisis out, because none of the other parties can.
I mean, I agree with that, Kev, but just a small boats crisis alone isn't going to make a visual difference to our streets. There are streets in every town. Every town has been changed by the millions of people that have been let in. Most of them aren't doing anything to contribute to the country. They're wandering around through the day. And if reform get a grip of that, and they do things that the establishment are petrified of doing, the British public will absolutely adore that.
I totally agree, Matt. I absolutely agree. The migrant crisis, I think it's extremely solvable, but you need resolve. You need to do some tough things like turn the boats around. Maybe the people who do arrive here, you detain them and you deport them. You broke our laws. You cannot have asylum. You came here illegally, therefore no asylum will even be considered. Better still, they don't even get here. They get turned around. And you're right, Matt. If we see a government doing this, the people will love it. Neither Labour nor the Tories seem to understand that, but we gave up the ghost with them ages ago, didn't we? Matt, good call. Matt in Cheshire there. Let's go back to break. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your WhatsApp voice notes, and I'll read some messages out, so stick around.
So Axel Rudakubana, who is the Southport killer, what he has done, big story in front of the Sun yesterday, I'm sure you saw it, in regard to the privileges that he still has. He can buy Maltesers and various things. There can't be a governor who says to him, has a process, looks at the evidence and says, right, your privileges are being taken away, until the end of a police investigation.
Astonishing. If I was the prisons minister, that would be changed immediately with the stroke of a pen. I've never heard such woke, soft nonsense.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. A quick message from Rob. Hi, Kev. Starmer's pathetic defence plan is for the birds. This is a sinister ploy to justify raising our taxes in the autumn. That'll be their justification for doing so when they have no intention of building anything now or ever. That's Rob in London. Yeah, I mean, all of this defence spending talk and indeed other U-turns on benefits, the winter fuel allowance, which they seem to be kind of bringing back. How are they going to pay for this? I'll tell you how. More tax rises. You're going to get tax rises in the autumn, sure as my name's what it is. Quick couple of WhatsApp voice notes. Dave on Starmer and the ECHR.
Kev, Dave here. I don't know whether it's me or is everybody forgetting who took the Labour government in 2003 to court? A so-called human rights lawyer called Keir Starmer to give migrants benefits. And guess what? He won. Do you think he's going to change his mind now? Human rights lawyer. Once a human rights lawyer, always a human rights lawyer. Good show, mate.
That's true. That's absolutely true, Dave. We're stuck with a human rights lawyer. As Richard Littlejohn in the Daily Mail always says, the trouble with Keir Starmer is he is a total and utter lawyer. Jonathan here on the migrants.
Hi, Kevin. Just a quick note. It's Jonathan from Northern Ireland. My worry with the migrants coming in is that by 4 years' time, when we actually have the chance to vote for reform, the migrants will have skewed the vote, probably in favour of Labour, and then where will we be?
Yeah, that is with a view to they have to become citizens before they're able to vote. But who knows? Who knows? Have we got a last one now, Jonathan, on the migrants? Is that right? No, that's been done. I've just done that. Right. Petri Huskins will be in just a second to tell you what she's got lined up for your entertainment between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m., taking you into the small hours. Before we say hi to Petri, let's take a very last call. That's Grace in London. Hi, Grace. What would you like to say?
Hi. I think that this Quran burning is an example of one of the things that really, really should not be done, and also really, really should not be punished and prohibited. I think that it was incredibly stupid of him to do it. I worry that when extremist radicals see things like that, they think of it as some kind of mad justification for the evil terrorist attacks that they carry out. And I think that you shouldn't set fires to anything in public, frankly. And also, it's just unnecessarily...
Yeah, but it shouldn't be against the law, should it? It shouldn't be against the law.
Exactly. It absolutely shouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, as a Christian, if people want to insult things about Christianity, it makes me sad, because as mad as it sounds, I really think there's actually a good historical case for Jesus having risen, and therefore I believe that if people follow him, it's
yeah, but the point is, Grace. Yeah, but if I want to say that's a load of...
But if you want... Yeah,
if I want to say that's a load of rubbish and set fire to the Bible, I should be able to, shouldn't I?
You absolutely should.
Yeah.
And it won't change what I believe, because I think that the facts are there, and if you don't agree, then that's your right.
Totally.
And it's just a real shame that people would be so acrimonious about
We
this.
we took a bad turn today into the dark area of the ending of freedom of speech. We've got to be careful here. I couldn't agree with you more, Grace. Thank you for a good call. Call me again. That's Grace in London. Petrie Hoskins is here. Hello, Petrie.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very, very well. What's coming up on your show?
Right, going to do a deep dive into the strategic defence review, because are we on a war footing or not? The answer is no.
And of course we're not.
There is no money being spent here. I mean, it's
just all, it's performative. It's
totally
gaslighting us again.
And actually, that's pretty dangerous, because we do need to be ready.
We can't.
For what's coming.
We are not in a position to defend this country.
No,
it's as simple as that.
We're not. We don't have enough